Warrior Lore. Chapter 35-33. There were many wounds on Zichen's body, and he looked very miserable. However, his aura was still there, and he wasn't as weak as everyone had imagined. As for death, it was even more impossible. When he stood up again, everyone discovered that there wasn't a single wound on his head. The sleeves on his arms had long been destroyed by the baptism of countless spear lights. One had to know that his robe was exclusive to sacred talisman masters, and there were many talisman arrays on it. Its defensive power was extremely shocking. However, it was still a tattered piece of cloth hanging on his body. Even the robe couldn't block the rain of spears, but it didn't leave any marks on Zichen's arms except for countless white spots. Seeing those white spots, everyone was shocked and secretly guessed that Zichen's arms were even tougher than the weapons of the sacred spirits. Standing up, Zichen looked at Immortal Jean in front of him, and his gaze gradually turned cold. He was glad that if it weren't for the protection of the sacred bones, he would really be finished this time. However, Immortal Jean wasn't having a good time either. The 81 ghost spirits were destroying his soul at this moment, and the corners of his eyes were twitching. It was obvious that he was enduring endless pain. "You're about to die," Zichen said in a cold voice. "As long as I kill you, it's still not too late." With a thought, Immortal Jean's immortal beast roared and charged towards Zichen. Spear 9. Immortal Jean thrust his spear forward, and the long spear in his hand stirred up ripples. In an instant, it turned into 9 identical long spears and charged towards Zichen with terrifying power. Obviously, he wanted to kill Zichen in advance while his soul was still able to hold on and resolve the crisis he was in. Zichen clenched his fists and black flames lingered around them. Facing such an expert, Zichen's sacred thunder power had lost its effect, and he could only use the black flames. With the black flames on his fists, Zichen activated the sacred bones under his feet, and his speed reached the extreme. He punched out. In an instant, his fists turned into 9 fists and met the incoming battle spear. Boom, boom. The battle spear and fist light instantly exploded, and a tyrannical power surged. Zichen borrowed the force of the shockwave to retreat rapidly. He did not want to clash head-on with the immortal war. As long as he waited patiently, the other party's soul would be destroyed by the 81 ghost spirits. It was only a matter of time. However, Immortal Jean naturally didn't think that way. He closed in step by step at an extremely fast speed. Even though Zichen had activated the Saint Bone in his feet and unleashed his full speed, he still couldn't shake off Immortal Jean. Spear 6. Immortal Jean roared again. This time, the vibrating long spears only manifested 6 times. The number of spears had obviously decreased, but the power had increased by several times. Facing the incoming spear light, Zichen, who had nowhere to dodge, could only continue to punch. Boom, boom, boom. Following the explosion of the 6 spear lights, Zichen was sent flying by the powerful shockwave. At the same time, he felt a sharp pain in his hands. Even though it was a Saint Bone, it was still at its limit. The other party's battle prowess was simply too terrifying. The holy spirits in the distance, who had been planning to take advantage of the situation, had already stopped. They didn't dare to advance recklessly and could only wait quietly for an opportunity. Spear 3. Immortal Jean's voice sounded again. It was cold and indifferent. 1 spear turned into 3 spears, and the power contained in these 3 spears was even more terrifying. It was as if the void was about to be torn apart. A sharp whistling sound was heard, and Lei Lan, who was approaching, felt as if she had suffered a soul attack. It was extremely uncomfortable. She had no choice but to continue retreating. At this point, the pain that Immortal Jean was enduring was unimaginable. The soul aura that he had been suppressing was also beginning to disappear. He knew that he didn't have much time left. His handsome face became even more ferocious. Zichen could feel the threat of death from the dangerous aura. He knew that he had to give it his all. In the face of a life-and-death crisis, he no longer dared to have any scruples. He activated all the black flames. This time, the black flames covered his entire body. It was as tall as a flame, burning up. Looking from afar, Zichen's body had turned into a ball of fire. Black flames. This is impossible. The young man in the distance was shocked. He turned around and stared at Emoji. He said coldly, "You guys dare to pass the complete black flames to an outsider?" The shocked Emoji could only smile bitterly. "Would you believe me if I said no?" Of course not, because the black flames that Zichen displayed now were like a complete ball of black flames. This was the most complete state of the black flames art, and also the most powerful state of the spirit extinguishing technique. Zichun threw out a punch quickly. 3 balls of black light appeared in the sky. They were like 3 balls of fire, releasing a strange aura and blocking the long spear. Boom, boom, boom. The long spear moved forward and landed on the black flames. In an instant, the black flames exploded. Countless black flames' energy drowned the long spear. Under everyone's gaze, the 3 waves of energy merged into one and spread out. The void was distorted, like a piece of paper that was constantly being folded. There was a sense of chaos in space and time. Lei Lan, who had retreated far away, was still affected. She coughed out blood and was sent flying. Her face was very pale. Just the aftermath alone was enough to hurt her. In the aftermath, Zichun retreated 100 feet. After stabilizing his body, the black flames on his body dimmed. Blood kept flowing out from the corner of his mouth. But at this moment, his eyes were still bright. There was even a smile at the corner of his mouth, because he was the one who persevered. Immortal Jean was about to die. At this moment, Immortal Jean followed up again. His ferocious and anxious expression suddenly turned cold and callous. Spear 1, Heaven and Earth. A cold voice sounded in the void. It seemed to produce a strange power. The scene in front of Zichun changed. It was as if he had come to a strange world. In this world, he was the only one. No, there was still a spear. A spear descended from the sky. His eyes were shining. He started to run, but he couldn't shake off the spear. It was as if the spear was everything in the world. Or rather, this world was formed by this spear. This feeling only lasted for an instant. Zichun came back to his senses. In his sea of consciousness, the voice of the ghost became abnormally sharp, as if warning Zichun of the danger. Boom! And even more blazing black flames surged out of his body and burned violently. Facing the spear that was already inches away, he clenched his fists and crossed them to block. The power of the Saint Bone was activated, and he began to defend with all his strength. When the spear arrived, a rainbow light flashed, causing people to be temporarily blinded. Zichun felt a sharp pain in his arms. It was as if an indescribable torrent was hitting his body. Both of his arms were instantly shaken off. Immortal Jean rode on the immortal beast and held the battle spear in his hand. Puff! The battle spear pierced through Zichun's chest. It went in from the front and out from the back. It was completely unstoppable. Heaven and earth instantly became quiet. The mighty aura retreated like the tide. Chapter 35-34. The surroundings became quiet once again. Everyone stared ahead without blinking. Zichun's body hung weakly on the spear. Sacred blood kept spurting out. It was a ghastly sight. No! Leyland's voice rang out. She, who had retreated far away, rushed forward. Everyone was silent. Their expressions were shocked. That immortal Jean was indeed powerful and terrifying. It seems that your hope has been dashed. That immortal Jean is indeed very powerful. The young man said in a deep voice, that last spear strike. Even from so far away, I could feel the danger. Emoji, who had always been very confident, fell silent at this moment. His confidence was disappearing bit by bit. This scene was beyond his expectations. Zichun allowed the spear to pierce through his body. His aura was weak as he looked at the immortal Jean in front of him. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. How do you feel? Immortal Jean coldly spat out 2 words, Ant. Zichun was not angry at all. The smile on his face remained. If I'm an ant, then what about you? Immortal? You're just a... As Zichun's voice fell, Immortal Jean's sea of consciousness began to glow. His aura was rapidly weakening until it disappeared. A ball of pure soul light, about the size of a fist, appeared from Immortal Jean's sea of consciousness and entered Zichun's soul. His originally weak soul aura began to strengthen at this moment. Immortal Jean's body was disappearing as if it was made of countless fireflies. In the quiet rear, a violent cry of surprise sounded. Lei Lan rushed in front of Zichun. When she saw this scene, she was stunned on the spot. Immortal Jean's body disappeared, leaving behind a fist-sized crystal. It was somewhat similar to the immortal stone from before, but clearly different. In addition, the spear, the golden armor, and even the strange beast were still there. The strange beast prostrated in front of Zichun, motionless, as if it was using the most devout method to worship its new master. Zichun's body flew into the air. The smile on his face disappeared. Then, he reached out to grab the battle spear and pulled it out from his chest. Sacred blood instantly spurted out, but it was quickly stopped by a light of energy. With his spear in hand, Zichun turned around and faced the group of holy spirits. The golden battle armor that belonged to the immortals floated beside him, releasing a dazzling golden light. There was also a palm-sized crystal floating above the armor, attracting everyone's attention. Standing beside Zichun, Lei Lan was so shocked that she couldn't say a word. At first, she was worried that Zichun would be killed by Immortal Jean. Who would have thought that Immortal Jean would be the one to die? Amidst the uproar, some people were rushing forward. They were 6-star holy spirits. Obviously, they were certain that Zichun was seriously injured. After waiting for a long time, it was finally time for them to take advantage of the situation. Zichun's lips curled into a cold smile as he watched the 6-stars charge through the exotic beasts and fly towards him. You finally can't hold it in any longer? He actually won. He really has some tricks up his sleeve. However, now that he is being besieged by so many people, his chances are slim. The young man said, "This is the price of standing out." Emoji was still silent. He realized that things weren't going to be so easy to control. At this moment, Zichun began to form hand seals. Seeing that, the young man's face turned gloomy. The world suddenly lit up, and a clap of thunder resounded. The holy lightning fell from the sky and hit a 6-star holy spirit who was charging forward. The 6-star holy spirit didn't even have time to scream before his aura disappeared. He died an unnatural death. Instant kill. Those 6-star holy spirits who were charging forward immediately stopped in their tracks, and there was fear in their eyes. It could be said that he had already expected everyone's actions. Zichun glanced at Lei Lan. He watched as Lei Lan dashed forward to collect the corpses of the 3 dead 6-star saint spirits and the spoils of war. No one dared to step forward anymore. The means to kill a 6-star holy spirit in an instant was too terrifying. No one wanted to die. Zichun turned around and glanced at the purple-gold immortal beast lying there, but he didn't say anything. He didn't immediately enter the world below. Instead, he took out a blank holy talisman and continued to write the ghost spirit holy talisman. Obviously, it was all thanks to the ghost spirit holy talisman that he was able to kill the 6-star holy spirit. In the blink of an eye, 81 holy talismans were formed. Without a doubt, Zichun had once again demonstrated his strength to everyone. When the ghost spirit holy talismans that could kill the immortals appeared, everyone gave up on the idea of snatching them. Zichun put away the holy talismans and all the spoils of war, and then he walked forward. As soon as he moved, the purple-gold immortal beast got up and followed him. Moreover, it followed behind Zichun like the most loyal servant. There was no fierceness in its eyes. Zichun could tell that the purple-gold immortal beast didn't have any killing intent. It was as if the purple-gold immortal beast was just a pet. Lei Lan looked at this scene in amazement. Zichun's figure descended, heading towards the world. Lei Lan followed Zichun. Before his figure disappeared, a bolt of lightning flew out and formed a thin wall of light that enveloped this world. Chapter 35:35. Looking at the lightning outside the smallest planet, everyone looked at each other in dismay. They didn't expect that the first world would be taken down by a mere 4-star cultivator. Although they couldn't look at the other party from the perspective of a normal realm, it was still an unbelievable thing in itself. Fortunately, the previous intense battle was also telling of the extraordinariness of this battle. The lightning was so eye-catching, and at the same time, it was also a mark. the mark that belonged to the Holy Thunder clan. Just as Zichen disappeared, a loud and clear voice suddenly rang out from the largest planet in the center of the planet. One of the 18 Immortal King armors is gone, and there are 17 left. Those who obtain the Immortal King armor can control immortal beasts and become the ruler of the immortal planet. Quickly come to the immortal realm to receive the reward. Hearing this voice, everyone looked at each other in dismay. Immortal King armor? Can control immortal beasts? What did that mean? Some people recalled the scene they saw before. After Xian Zhan died, the golden armor and the exotic beast were left behind. Could it be that the armor was the Immortal King armor, and the purple-gold exotic beast that looked like a Qilin was an immortal beast? Discussions came from the crowd, and many people were guessing the meaning of that sentence. As for the last sentence, no one cared too much about it, because in the current situation, who would dare to go deep alone? The young man looked back at Ink and asked, "What do you mean?" Ink said, "Perhaps Zichen has already become the master of that planet." The young man continued, "Don't you know him? Why don't you go up and ask about the situation?" Ink shook his head and said, "There's no hurry." He looked back at the entrance. It's been a long time, and those powerhouses should be here soon. Who knows, Zichen might run into some trouble. At this time, Zichen had already arrived in this world. The spiritual qi here was very rich, and it wasn't ordinary spiritual qi, just like when he walked into the other space in the battlefield of gods and demons. The immortal beast followed behind Zichen, moving forward with Zichen. Once Zichen stopped, it would also stop 2 feet away. Zichen released his spiritual senses. Although they were greatly suppressed, he could still perceive nearly half of the world. There was a city here, and there were traces of other people living here, but there was not a single person here. Currently, this was an empty planet. Zichen guessed that perhaps everyone had retreated in advance and returned to the main planet. At this moment, he heard a loud and clear voice ring out. Armor of the 18 Immortal Kings, riding immortal beasts, dominating immortal planets, receiving rewards. Several thoughts quickly flashed through his mind. He guessed that the golden armor he had obtained was one of the 18 Immortal King armors, but he did not dare to refine it. Who could guarantee that those people didn't do anything? The guy behind him, who could barely be called an immortal beast, looked very docile at the moment, but the scene of it roaring at Zichen earlier was not an illusion. Therefore, he had to be careful. Just as Zichen was about to continue investigating his surroundings, he heard Lei Lan's exclamation. His expression changed. Was there still danger? The next moment, Lei Lan's exclamation turned into a pleasant surprise. "Zichen, come quickly, I have a big discovery." At this moment, Lei Lan was standing on the peak of a mountain, looking down at the continuous mountain range below with excitement in his eyes. Zichen's figure flashed, and he flew toward Lei Lan. However, after a slight hesitation, he turned around and looked at the purple-gold immortal beast. The next moment, he jumped onto the back of the purple-gold immortal beast. Whoosh! Zichen's speed skyrocketed in an instant, like a purple-gold light. He was shocked. He could control this immortal beast with just his mind, and it seemed to have zero intelligence. Zichen came up to Lei Lan, looked at the unusually excited beast, and asked, "What did you find?" "There is very pure spiritual power below. I suspect there is a mineral vein," Lei Lan said, "and the area is very wide." Zichen looked down and said, "Do you want to give it a try?" Lei Lan, who was eager to give it a try, nodded after hearing Zichen's suggestion and said, "Yes, I'll go over now. You should hurry up and recover. I suspect others will come to snatch it." Lei Lan flew down, and Zichen stayed where he was. He took an elixir and began to heal his injuries. There was still some residual power in the wound that was originally suppressed. At this moment, what Zichen needed to do was to forcibly expel this power. He mobilized the pure power of the Holy Thunder, but when it approached the residual power, it was repelled and did not have any effect. This made Zichen feel very helpless. It was not that the power of the Holy Thunder was not strong, but that his cultivation level was too low. Right now, he could only transform the power of the Holy Thunder into black flames. As the black flames passed, the residual power began to gradually dissipate. In Zichen's perception, There were sparks flashing in the black flames from time to time, which seemed like flames. And every time there were sparks, the speed of the residual power dissipating would increase. What on earth are these flames? At this moment, there was a strange look on Zichen's face. Originally, there was no such real flame in the black flames. It was just energy that was similar to flames. He did not know when it started, but flames gradually appeared in this energy. He hurriedly checked himself and found no other abnormalities. But this still made Zichun feel a strong uneasiness in his heart. Perhaps at some point, he would be devoured by the black flames like those people. But this time, if it were not for the black flames, how could he have lasted until the moment of his death in the immortal battle? After the residual energy on his wounds had been expelled, these injuries were nothing more than superficial wounds to Zichun. Under the operation of the cultivation method, these superficial wounds were recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Soon, they were as good as new. The original consumption was also recovering at this time. When Zichen's injuries were completely healed, there was a small deep hole in the mountain range under his feet that extended directly to the ground. I wonder how the situation is. What did you find? Zichen thought to himself and planned to go deeper to take a look. Unexpectedly, at this moment, a light figure flew out from below. It was Leilon. She was holding a glowing crystal in her hand. After seeing Zichun, she shouted excitedly, "Look, it's an immortal stone. An immortal stone." Zichen's gaze fell on the crystal. Indeed, there was the same aura as an immortal stone circulating in it. Although it did not seem to be of the same grade as the beasts in the outside world, it still contained purer power than ordinary saint crystals. Conquering this world was already a great merit. Now that he had found an immortal stone, his contribution was naturally greater. How much is inside? Chapter 35-36. Leilon held the immortal stone in one hand and pointed at the mountain range with her other hand. A lot. It's a huge load, and the closer it is to the core, the higher the grade of the immortal stones. Zichun nodded, the excitement in his eyes lingering for a long time. After coming to the Holy Thunder Clan for so many years, he had finally made a contribution to the Holy Thunder Clan. And this contribution could be said to be huge. Huge. Unimaginably huge. We're rich, Zichun. We're rich. Leilon jumped excitedly and even ran to Zichen's side. She hugged Zichun and spun a few rounds in the air, showing how excited she was. After discovering a huge load, in addition to contribution, there would be other gains. What Leilon said was actually very reasonable. If the 3 pieces of thunder leaf could be converted into saint crystals that Zichen auctioned, then if the entire load was converted into thunder leaf, it would be at least in the thousands. After Leilon let go of him, Zichun smiled and said, as expected of the only disciple of Saint Venerable Lei Di, "You're amazing. By the way, those idiots from the death prison, Star Pirates, only asked for 3 pieces of thunder leaf. They're really ignorant." Leilon raised her head slightly and looked at the sky with her pretty face like a proud 5-colored sparrow. That's right, they're really a bunch of guys who haven't seen the world. But then, Leilon looked at Zichun and said worriedly, "Zichun, you'll protect this place well, right?" Looking at Leilon's nervous look, Zichun couldn't help but laugh. He patted his chest and said, "Don't worry, I'll protect everything with my life." After saying that, Zichun turned around and flew towards the sky. Perhaps there would be a great battle in the future. "Zichun," Leilon suddenly called out to him. Zichun turned around. "Just do your best. There's no need to risk your life." Leilon said, "Resources are just external objects. They can never be compared to your life." Zichun nodded with a smile and flew away. When Zichun arrived outside the world, he found that there were already other people around, but they did not come close. Zichun glanced into the distance. The great battle had started again. He said to these people, "Why aren't you guys fighting? What are you doing here? Could it be that you've taken a fancy to this place?" "Brother Zichun, you must be joking. We're just here to ask about the situation," a 6-star Holy Spirit said with a smile. As the first existence to successfully occupy a planet, many people wanted to come to Zichen to inquire for information. Of course, If it wasn't for Zichen's lightning controlling technique, they wouldn't have obediently inquired for information outside. Instead, they would have directly charged in. Zichen frowned slightly, not knowing how to explain. Brother Zichen, this is a 4th grade divine elixir pill. It's specially used for healing. I hope you can accept it. A 4th grade divine elixir pill was extremely valuable, far more valuable than a 4-star divine talisman. It was reasonable to use such a pill to exchange for first-hand information about this place. Zichen did not take the pill. Instead, he turned his head to look at the others. These people had strange expressions. Zichen said lightly, "Actually, each of you will not lose out if you take out a 6th grade divine elixir pill each." When they heard this, their expressions changed drastically. They were moved. A 6th grade divine elixir pill was even more valuable. Many people used it to save their lives. Zichen said that each of them would not lose out if they took out a 6th grade divine elixir pill. Obviously, the information in this world was extremely valuable. The few of them were stunned on the spot. Obviously, they did not know how to respond. Zichen said, "There's no one in this world. It's empty, but there were people living here. They should have evacuated long ago. We just need to defeat the Guardian. As for the immortal stone vein in this world, we've discovered it." The few of them who were originally in a difficult position changed their expressions after hearing Zichen's words. "As for the immortal king armor, I haven't refined it yet. I don't know if it's real or not." Obviously, Zichen had already told them all about the information inside. The few of them were even more embarrassed because they did not know what to pay. Zichen waved his hand and said, "Hurry up and disperse. Think of a way to attack other worlds. I reckon that the Holy Thunder Clan will be here soon. So, let's save some useless effort. Even if I give you the world now, you won't be able to keep it in the end." Obviously, this information was given to them for free. Moreover, Zichen was telling the truth. When the Holy Thunder Clan's army arrived, who would be able to compete with them? These people cupped their fists at Zichen with gratitude in their eyes. Then, they left this place. Zichen stood in the sky above this world, just like he did during the Immortal War. He began to protect this world. The next step was to wait. Wait for the Holy Thunder Clan to come and take over everything here. The Holy Thunder Clan's people were already on their way here. However, it was not the army that Zichen had expected. The first to receive the news were only 7 people who came here. These 7 people were very young, but their realms were extremely high. Every one of them had reached 5-star. The 7 5-star holy spirits were the reinforcements this time. The young man in the lead looked at the unchanging void scenery outside the flying boat. He was silent, and no one knew what he was thinking. "Brother Hong Tian, we are the vanguard this time. Do you have any plans?" Behind the young man, a slightly thin young man asked. The young man named Hong Tian came back to his senses. He smiled and said, "This incident is also the final assessment for us. As long as we complete it successfully, we will naturally become the true core of the Holy Thunder Clan. Therefore, no matter what happens, what we need to do is to complete the mission." If others heard this at this moment, they would definitely be shocked. These 7 5-star holy spirits were actually all participating in the Holy Thunder Clan's core of the Holy Thunder Clan's assessment. Moreover, they were only one step away from truly succeeding. The core of the Holy Thunder Clan was the true strength of the Holy Thunder Clan. "I heard that our people are already there. In addition to the disciple of Holy Sage Lady, I heard that there is another person called Zichen. Recently, he has become quite famous," said the young man from before. Hong Tian smiled and said, "I heard that his combat strength is not bad. There have always been rumors that he has the qualifications to become the core of the Holy Thunder Clan." As soon as he said this, roars of laughter were immediately heard. As people who were one step away from the true core of the Holy Thunder Clan, they were very clear about the weight of the core of the Holy Thunder Clan. Therefore, to them, the rumors were too laughable. This was because once those experts in the rumors participated in the core of the Holy Thunder Clan's assessment, more than 99% of them would be eliminated. Yes, the latest news is here. Hong Tian's expression changed slightly. A communication bead appeared in his hand. After reading the content, a look of surprise appeared on his face. That guy called Zichen has actually conquered a world. It seems that he is not bad. Once we go there, we should carry out the second step of the plan. Chapter 35-37. Hong Tian said with a displeased expression, "So what if he's strong? If he doesn't know how to behave, he's nothing in the end." Everyone burst into laughter upon hearing this. One of them said, "I heard that guy didn't participate in any assessment and became a core disciple. It seems that he's overestimating himself because he has the protection of Saint Lady. Let's put aside the merit first. When we get there, we must teach him how to behave. He even dares to kill the people of the Holy Star Clan. He's really lawless." The airship moved forward quickly. Hong Tian put away his communication bead and recalled the instructions given by his family before coming here. A meaningful smile appeared on his face. The airship stopped at the edge of the Burial Star Sacred Region. The group of 7 chose to fly forward. During this time, another airship arrived. There were more than a dozen people in it. These people were also at the 5-star realm. When the leader saw Hong Tian and the others, there was a trace of surprise on his face. He then said with a smile, "So it's Brother Hong Tian. What a coincidence." Hong Tian cupped his fists at the young man and said, "Brother Ichin, long time no see. I didn't expect you to come this time." Ichin said with a smile, "I heard that the Holy Thunder Clan has successfully conquered a planet. Brother Hong Tian, congratulations, congratulations." "Brother Ichin, I believe that the Holy Star Clan will soon conquer the world. Congratulations, congratulations. Brother Hong Tian, you flatter us. You, the most talented person in the younger generation of the Leijing family, have come. I believe that the Holy Thunder Clan will attach great importance to this matter this time." The two walked side by side, talking and laughing like friends who had not seen each other for many years. At this time, Ziqian was still standing on the planet, guarding it. As the experts of various clans arrived one after another, although the planets here had not been breached, the pressure on those who called themselves immortals was getting stronger and stronger. There were already several planets where the first guardian was killed. However, after encountering those who wore armors, they were beaten back one by one. Only after a real confrontation did everyone know how powerful these existences were and how difficult it was to kill them. One of the forces suffered heavy losses even after being besieged by so many people. They were almost wiped out. As a result, some people started to have ideas about Ziqin again, especially after some information about these planets was completely spread. During this period, Ziqin had engaged in some probing battles. Even though he had not refined the Immortal King armor, the strength he displayed was still very strong. Furthermore, he was only a 4-star. In fact, Ziqin was gradually feeling the pressure because no matter how strong his battle prowess was, he was only a 4-star after all. If multiple forces were to gang up on him, he would not be able to win. The identity of the Holy Thunder Clan naturally had a certain deterrent effect, but if the reinforcements did not arrive, then the deterrent effect would become weaker and weaker. Fortunately, reinforcements had finally arrived. Even though there was a great distance between them, Ziqin could still feel waves of tyrannical auras converging. Among them, there was a tyrannical lightning aura. Along with the cries of surprise, Ziqin knew that it wasn't just the Holy Thunder Clan that had come, but also the Holy Star Clan. 2 of the 4 great sacred clans had come, so the other 2 should be arriving soon. The powerhouses of the various clans should be arriving one after another, and this place would really become a gathering place. A tyrannical aura surged in front of him, and the exotic beasts blocking the way were instantly sent flying in all directions. Countless thunderbolts raged in front of him, and a huge opening was broken open. Ziqin saw 7 young men, and his spiritual thoughts immediately sensed their realms. All of them were 5-star. However, the aura surging from these people made him feel a strong sense of danger. Obviously, even though they were 5-star, they were still true powerhouses. A hint of joy appeared on his face. This was a long-lost smile from the bottom of his heart, as if he had seen his family. After fighting alone in this area for so long, Ziqin still felt a sense of loneliness even though Lei Lan was by his side. Now it was all good. His allies had arrived. The 7 of them flew forward, obviously having received information about this place long ago. It was also the first time Zichun had left this planet to welcome the 7 of them. The leader looked at Zichun, who was getting closer and closer, and said, "Are you Zichun?" Zichun nodded. These 7 people were all unfamiliar faces. He had never seen them in the core city, but they were definitely not weaker than any of the core disciples. Zichun nodded and said, "Yes, it's me." "You are?" The other party waved his hand and said, "We already know about your situation. You've worked hard. Let's talk inside." After saying that, these people flew forward. Zichun followed beside him and did not say anything. However, the feeling of meeting a family member in his heart had faded a little. "What's in this world right now?" the leader asked as he walked forward, his voice indifferent. "We've found an immortal stone vein, but we haven't found anything else yet. We're still investigating," Zichun said as he walked, but this time, he was less enthusiastic. The first young man to enter the world extended his spiritual thoughts. After scanning around, he said, "Although the area isn't big, it's not bad." Zichun didn't say anything. The young man landed on the ground. This used to be a city, but now there were only empty buildings left. Standing on an open space, the young man looked back at Zichun and said, "Now that we're here, your mission is complete. Leave the immortal king armor behind, and you can go." "What?" Zichun was stunned. Looking at the young man, he felt that he was hearing things. The young man said indifferently, "Your mission is complete. After returning, the Holy Thunder Clan will naturally reward you. Now leave the immortal king armor behind, and you can leave." Looking at the stunned Zichun, the young man waved his hand and said, "Go. We don't need you here. We'll take over." Zichun woke up from his daze. Before the people of the Holy Thunder Clan arrived, he had thought of many possibilities. In each of them, they would be grateful to him, because in order to conquer this place, he had almost lost his life. He had paid too much, but he never thought that it would be like this. "What are you still standing there for? Don't you understand Brother Hongtian's words? Hurry up and go. We don't need you here anymore." Next to him, a 5-star Holy Spirit said coldly, "Next, we need to study the next step in detail. Don't think that conquering a world is a big deal. This is just a springboard at best. Our real goal is to go deeper." Chapter 35-38. Zichun narrowed his eyes, and there was a chill in his eyes. The 5-star who spoke earlier said coldly, "Why? Do you have a different opinion? Why do you want us to leave?" At this moment, a cold voice suddenly sounded. It was Lei Lan. Zichun had sent a message to Lei Lan, informing her that the Holy Thunder Clan's reinforcements had arrived. Lei Lan arrived happily, but she did not expect to hear that Zichun was asked to leave. She walked up and said unhappily, "This world was conquered by Zichun. Why do you want us to leave?" The person who spoke looked at Lei Lan from head to toe, and a disdainful smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He said, "Why? Because you're weak?" "You?" Lei Lan glared at him and said, "You're only a 5-star. Do you think you're strong? Besides, are you sure you're from the Holy Thunder Clan? Why haven't I seen you in the core area? Are you not even core disciples?" Hearing Lei Lan's words, the 7 of them were stunned, and then a sarcastic smile appeared on their faces. Even the young man who was the leader shook his head and smiled. Zichun had already sensed the other party's aura, which belonged to the pure Holy Thunder aura. There was no doubt about it, and they were definitely strong cultivators. However, Lei Lan had never seen them before, which made Zichun suspicious. Was there really a problem with the origin of these people? "Little girl, in your eyes, only the core disciples are the strongest in the Holy Thunder Clan?" The person who spoke earlier said. "Of course, the core disciples are not the strongest, but none of them are weak." Lei Lan snorted and said, "You're all unfamiliar faces. How do I know if you're core disciples?" The other party heard and seemed to want to say something, but was interrupted by the young man. "All right, Xiao Wu, we have important things to do. We don't have time to tease these 2 guys. Little girl, since you're the disciple of the Sacred Master, you should be very familiar with the Holy Thunder Clan. Do you know about the extreme core disciples?" "What?" Lei Lan's face instantly turned pale, and her beautiful eyes were immediately filled with shock. "You're all at the extreme core disciples? Not for the time being, but as long as we complete this mission, there will be no problem. The young man's expression gradually turned cold. That's why I said that we don't have time to play with you here. Leave now. As for your reward, the Holy Thunder Clan will naturally give it to you after we return. Don't worry, the credit will definitely go to you. We won't fight with you over it. Aside from that, the other reason why I want you to leave is because you don't know the rules and killed the holy spirits of our ally, the Holy Star Clan. You don't even know how to behave properly, so why should I keep you by my side? The young man pointed at the world and said, I observed it earlier. Among the 18 worlds, this is the smallest one, but it can still be used as a camp, even though it has caused quite a loss to the reputation of our Holy Thunder Clan. That's all we can do for now. We'll earn back the reputation that the Holy Thunder Clan has lost in this small world. So, don't think that you've done something amazing. In our eyes, it's really terrible. What kind of place is the Holy Thunder Clan? It's one of the 4 great holy clans, occupying the best land of opportunity in the Holy Spirit domain. In any corner of this world, who dares to look down on the Holy Thunder Clan? The young man pointed around and said, Do you know how we got our reputation? This is what our ancestors obtained through battle after battle, because we will always be the best. But this time, this world isn't medium, but it's the smallest. How can we, who have always occupied the best conditions, tolerate staying here? The young man's face had a pained expression. Even if you insulted the name of the Holy Thunder Clan, killed our ally, and don't even know how to behave properly, I was still willing to contribute to you and let you return to receive your reward. But what did you do? You stood in front of me like a fool, not even moving a step. Do you know that this will greatly affect my speed in entering the deeper world? The young man suddenly raised his voice and said, The real opportunity is in the deepest part. Everything here is not worth mentioning in my eyes. Lei Lan trembled with anger. This was a planet that Zichen had risked his life to take down. But in the eyes of these people, not only did he not make any contributions, but he had also become a sinner who disgraced the name of the Holy Thunder Clan. Zichen, on the other hand, had been very calm. Although he was very angry, or rather, very disappointed in his heart, he looked at the young man and said, Are you serious about all this? Immediately, there was a sneer from the side. The young man also looked at Zichen and said, Do you think that I'm joking with you? Zichen nodded and said, Okay, I understand. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. You can get lost now. That's more like it. Hurry up. The young man waved his hand subconsciously, his expression full of disdain. But after hearing Zichen's words, his eyes turned cold. A murderous aura surged in an instant. Lei Lan's spirit suddenly tensed up because in an instant, there seemed to be a peerless beast beside her. That aura made her soul tremble. What did you say? The young man's voice was cold. At this time, the others also stared at Zichen with cold eyes. Zichen said apologetically, Sorry, my wording was inappropriate. I shouldn't have asked you to get lost. What I meant was that you can leave now. Zichen pointed around and said, Didn't you look down on my small place? Didn't you say that I disgraced the name of the Holy Thunder Clan? Well, then I'll have to trouble you to take down the biggest world and make the Holy Thunder Clan proud. Do you know what you're doing? The killing intent in the young man's eyes was almost tangible. Zichen said, Of course I know. This is the world I took down. I naturally have the authority to distribute it. You can leave if you don't like it. Well, aren't you core to the extreme? I believe it shouldn't be a problem for you to take down the biggest world, right? So, I'll have to trouble you to protect and strengthen the name of the Holy Thunder Clan. Do you know how much of our progress will be delayed by this? Delayed? I'm the only one who has taken down a world. The others haven't. Everyone is at most on the same line. So I think this is the time for you, core, to truly show your abilities. Because you're the top powerhouses of the Holy Thunder Clan, your efficiency is naturally the fastest. If you don't want my world now and go out to take it again, your reputation will definitely soar. You're courting death. The existence called Xiao Wu from before had murderous intent surging in his eyes. Zichen pretended to be surprised and said, You said that my world was worthless before, and now you're not willing to leave. Are you afraid that you can't take down a world? Speaking of which, as the extreme core, you shouldn't have such worries because I'm only a 4-star, and I'm alone. You're all 5 stars. Chapter 35-39. Leijing Hongtian looked at Zichen's smiling face and wished he could go up and give him a few slaps. Originally, he just wanted to suppress him and make him teach the school a lesson, but he didn't expect this guy to actually dare to ask them to leave. My world is very small, and it will affect the reputation of the Holy Thunder Clan. I think what you said before is very reasonable. Our Holy Thunder Clan wants the best in everything. Even if it's just a camp, we naturally want the best. Zichun continued, I have long heard that the core of the Holy Thunder Clan is the most powerful force of the Holy Thunder Clan. What I, a mere 4-star core disciple, can do, I believe you can do better than me. After all, I only got the smallest Xingqian world. I believe you can definitely successfully occupy the largest one. Zichen's smile was still on his face as he finished his words in one breath. Are you serious? Leijing Hongtian stared into Zichen's eyes and said. Zichen said, do you think I'm joking with you? This was what the other party said before, and now it was passed on to the other party. After saying that, Zichen pointed at his feet and said, this place is mine. I can give it to whoever I want. Report this matter to the clan. Say that this person didn't obey orders and refused to hand over the world. Leijing Hongtian looked at Xiao Wu and said, let's go. Several people turned around and left. But before leaving, they looked at Zichen with incomparably cold eyes. Zichen turned around and said with a smile, respectfully farewell, sirs. Oh, I forgot to tell sirs before. After sirs leave, you can tell others that you don't care about this disgraceful small world at all. Our Holy Thunder Clan wants the largest one. Looking at the several people leaving, Lei Lan walked to Zichun and said worriedly, if we drive them away, how will we explain it to the Holy Thunder Clan? A cold smile appeared on Zichen's face. There's no need to explain. This is a world that I want. Naturally, I'll distribute it. Lei Lan also said angrily, damn it. Are all the core members of the Holy Thunder Clan so arrogant? We were kind enough to offer the world to them, but not only were they not grateful, they were actually disdainful of this and that, and they even wanted to drive us away. Besides, wasn't the Holy Star Clan the last time we killed them because they didn't care about their friendship as allies and wanted to take advantage of us? Zichun also sighed and said, it's really difficult to contribute to the Holy Thunder Clan. Then, he looked at Lei Lan and said, you continue to explore the resources of this world. I'll have to keep watch outside. I can't do it openly. Who knows, those guys might secretly come in secret. Zichun soared into the sky. Lei Lan looked at him worriedly. Everything was Zichen's doing. He thought that with the arrival of reinforcements, they could fight side by side. He didn't expect things to turn out like this. Are we just going to let this matter go? That guy called Zichen really deserves to die. Xiao Wu said coldly as he was leaving. He seems to be sure that we will come back for him, and he also thinks that we can't conquer the new world. Hongtian sneered and said, let's go out and take a look first. Then we'll discuss other countermeasures. What should we say after we go out? Xiao Wu asked. Don't say anything first. Everything depends on the situation. The group successfully walked out of the smallest world. For a moment, all the forces' gazes were focused on them. No one was surprised, but when they saw these people fly to the largest planet, many people had puzzled expressions on their faces. The Holy Thunder Clan already had a world, so why did they want to go to other planets? Brother Hongtian, what do you mean? Xingyichen, an expert of the Holy Star Clan who came in with Hongtian earlier. At this time, with the arrival of many experts, many exotic beasts were torn apart, and safe paths were opened one after another. There was no need to fight anymore when they walked out of these planets. Hongtian smiled and said, I'm here to take a look. At this moment, his gaze fell on the largest planet in front of him, and a hint of coldness flashed in his eyes. Xingyichen said, Brother Hongtian, you can't be thinking of conquering this place, right? Doesn't your Holy Thunder Clan have a Xingqian world? Hongtian said, I'm just testing it. After saying that, he waved his hand. The existence called Xiao Wu directly flew forward. At this time, This largest world had not been conquered, and the first guardian still existed. With Xiao Wu's arrival, many people's faces showed surprise, but they didn't stop him. There were many people who wanted to conquer this world, and now everyone was watching. Xiao Wu rushed forward, and the aura of a 5-star Holy Spirit erupted from his body. When he was about to reach the planet, a guardian appeared. He looked at Xiao Wu, who was rushing forward, and said coldly, "Die, Ant." Xiao Wu held the lightning in his hand and rushed forward. The guardian put 2 fingers together, and an immortal sword light flew out. Boom! The powerful collision turned into a powerful energy that dissipated. The guardian and Xiao Wu both retreated. When Zichun appeared in the sky above the world, he saw the two fighting, and a smile appeared on his face. The combat power of the first guardian was usually not very strong. According to the other party's identity, although he was only a 5-star Holy Spirit, it was not difficult for him to win. Even the second and third guardians were not that strong. The real strong ones were those who wore battle armor and rode immortal beasts. Zichun still had not refined the immortal king armor, but during this period of time, he had studied it. Its defense was very strong, and he was very glad that he had mastered the Dark Ghost Devouring Soul technique. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to kill the other party. Among the 7, Zichun felt that the person who seemed to be the leader seemed to be deliberately targeting him. As for the reason, he was not too sure. However, the other party was obviously skilled and bold. When many forces were eyeing that planet, he dared to send him to fight without caring about others. The battle was very intense. This was also the first time that Zichun had seen a battle between core holy spirits. Not only did the other party display the power of lightning to the extreme, but his own techniques were also endless. Besides the most basic holy thunder flash, Zichun had never seen the other techniques before. However, they were all the strongest martial arts techniques of the Holy Thunder Clan, and they were very decisive in killing. In this battle, Xiao Wu killed the Guardian at the cost of minor injuries. A smile appeared on Hong Tian's face. It seems that the Guardian here is just He, who had been a little uneasy, was completely relieved now. He was very confident about conquering this world. Chapter 3540. Xiao Wu let out a blood-curdling scream as his body was pierced through by the sword. His aura weakened. He quickly retreated. His face was pale and his eyes were filled with fear. As he retreated, he decisively swallowed an expensive life-saving elixir. His weakened aura gradually stabilized. Such an unforeseen event was beyond everyone's expectations, including Zichun in the distance. At this moment, a tyrannical aura surged out from the huge world. An existence wearing an immortal king armor and riding an immortal beast walked out of it. There were 3 people beside him. They were obviously guardians as well. Fortunately, they weren't wearing immortal king armor. The sword light that pierced through Xiao Wu's body turned into a ray of light and flew back into the other party's hand. Immortal slaughter. The guardian of this place, you ants, quickly die. The moment he held the immortal slaughter sword, the aura of the immortal slaughter changed drastically. It spread out like a violent storm. Then, he turned into a ray of sword light and took the initiative to attack. The 3 people beside him also attacked in an instant. In an instant, blood splattered everywhere. The sword in the immortal slaughter's hand was like the sharpest weapon in the world. It cut through the bodies of the holy spirits. The group of holy spirits began to retreat. Their faces were filled with panic. Originally, they were only guardians. They never took the initiative to leave the range of the planet to attack. This immortal slaughter was clearly the first time. Zichun stood in the distance and looked at this scene in surprise. He had to admit that the immortal slaughter was really powerful. The moment it charged forward, it killed many holy spirits without leaving a single one alive. The few core members of the Holy Thunder Clan also retreated. They didn't attack. Hong Tian, who was standing in the distance, narrowed his eyes and said, "Every guardian is this powerful?" Xing Yichen, who was next to him, said, "From the information I received, it is indeed so." Hong Tian frowned. If every guardian was this powerful, how did the 4-star Zichun successfully kill them and take over the world? He turned around and glanced at Zichun. He saw that the other party was watching the show with a smile. This made Hong Tian's face immediately turn gloomy. Looking at the other party who was slaughtering, he said, "We have reserved this world." As his voice faded, he flew forward. At the same time, the people beside him also moved forward. Hong Tian blocked the immortal slaughter. Lightning coiled around his body as the aura of a 5-star erupted. This aura made many people feel a strong threat. Immortal Lu no longer chased after the others. Instead, he stared at Hong Tian and sensed his aura. He said in disdain, "A mere ant dares to stop this immortal?" Shua. Hong Tian's body dissipated abruptly like a puff of smoke. Humph! The immortal slayer snorted coldly and turned around at an unbelievable speed, slashing at the void with its sword. A clear white sword mark, like a wave, extended into the distance. The vanished Hong Tian reappeared within the range of the sword scars. He punched out, causing the materialized sword light to tremble and then explode. The moment the sword light shattered, he rushed forward again. His 2 fingers formed a sword, and his eyes were as cold as lightning. Lightning sword. Sword chi flew out from his fingertips. It was extremely small and looked like a ray of light. It moved straight ahead, possessing the fastest speed in the world. In the face of this attack, the immortal slayer did not dodge. He even took the initiative to charge forward. The attack landed on his immortal king armor and was immediately dispersed by it. At the same time, the immortal slayer's sword in his hand pierced towards Hong Tian's chest. Shua. Hong Tian's figure disappeared again, dodging the sword. The immortal slayer also disappeared. Next, the 2 of them seemed to have teleported, continuously displaying extreme speed and counterattacks. Everyone watching the battle was silent and nervous. Zichen's expression gradually became serious. Hong Tian was indeed a core disciple. Not only was his combat strength tyrannical, but his speed was also unrivaled. Boom! Suddenly, a strong tremor was heard. Ripples surged out from the battle, and Hong Tian's body flew backward. 100 feet away, blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, and his face gradually darkened. "Ant, how dare you challenge this immortal?" The immortal slayer held a long sword in his hand, looking disdainful. In the distance, Xing Yichen's expression changed. He knew how powerful the immortal slayer was. If even he was not his opponent, then it would be difficult for the people here to kill him. Buzz. Hong Tian's aura suddenly changed. Countless ripples surged out from his body, and there was an additional pressure between heaven and earth. His entire body was glowing, and a terrifying aura filled every inch of his body. All the sacred spirits who sensed this aura instantly changed their expressions. A feeling of extreme danger filled everyone's heart. It was as if there was a deadly sword floating above their heads that could fall at any time. Zichun was not too far away from the battle, so he could clearly sense the aura emitted from Hong Tian's body. It was the aura of the spirit extermination skill. It was much stronger than the aura of the black flames. At the same time, Zichun also felt a sense of familiarity. Another image appeared in his mind. It was the first time he met Lei Zhenghong. He was sitting there, and his aura suddenly changed. If he had not resisted the spirit extermination skill before, he would have been frightened. However, although the aura of the 2 was worlds apart, there was a sense of familiarity. "I see." Zichen's eyes gradually turned cold. He finally understood why he was being targeted. That guy called Hong Tian was definitely not his full name. His full name was Lei Zhenghong Tian. As such, Zichen needed to think about what to do next. That was because he and the Lei Zheng family were not on good terms. At this moment, Lei Zhenghong Tian displayed the spirit extermination skill. Sun-devouring spirit light. A beam of spiritual light appeared in the sky. Following the appearance of the spirit light, all the light in the world disappeared, as if it had been swallowed by this spirit light. It was dark all around, and only light appeared in front of them. However, it could only illuminate a very small area. It was as if countless space had folded and descended from the sky with the power to destroy the world. There was clearly light in front of them, and it was very bright, but in everyone's hearts, there was a sense of absurdity in the darkness. This was the spirit extermination skill, a skill that existed to exterminate the spirit race. It was the nemesis of all the spirit race in the world. There was no doubt about its power. The spirit light, which seemed to have swallowed all the light in the world, descended from the sky toward the immortal slayer. The immortal slayer shouted and pointed the immortal sword in his hand toward the sky. Countless immortal swords flew out like a rain of light and went against the sky. Countless immortal swords flew into the spirit light and disappeared without a trace. The spirit light descended, and countless rays of light drowned the immortal slayer. Just as the spirit extermination skill was completely unleashed, light returned to the world. The absurd feeling of darkness in everyone's hearts finally disappeared. Everyone stared ahead, waiting for the countless rays of light to disperse, waiting to see if the immortal slayer was still alive. Zichun was also very nervous. This was because the power of Lei Zhenghong's spirit extermination skill was much stronger than his black flames. Suddenly, an immortal sword light flew out from the countless rays of light and stabbed toward Lei Zhenghong Tian's chest. Chapter 35-41. When Lei Zhenghong Tian used the spirit extermination technique, all the holy spirits felt a strong sense of threat. It was as if the Grim Reaper was standing beside them. It was extremely dangerous. However, such a powerful attack failed to kill the immortal slayer. An immortal sword broke through the light and went straight into Lei Zhenghong Tian's chest. Lei Zhenghong Tian's eyes flickered when he saw the light of the immortal sword, but for some reason, he couldn't dodge in time. Puff! The immortal sword went straight into his chest. Just like Xiao Wu, it instantly pierced through his body and flew into the distance. Blood flowed from the corner of Lei Zhenghong Tian's mouth. His face instantly turned pale, and his aura became weak. An uproar continued. Everyone looked at Lei Zhenghong Tian in confusion. The Holy Thunder Clan had already conquered a planet. Why didn't they occupy it? Why did they attack again? Now, they were in such a sorry state. Lei Zhenghong Tian began to retreat. The people he brought with him stepped forward, ready to protect him. Unexpectedly, the immortal slayer walked out of the light. The immortal king armor on his body flashed brightly. Other than his pale face and weak aura, he didn't seem to be injured. Obviously, the immortal king armor had blocked the attack for him. He charged forward. At the same time, the three people he brought with him also took the initiative to attack Lei Zhenghong Tian's group. According to the current situation, they should have retreated. However, they didn't. Perhaps they wanted to avenge Lei Zhenghong Tian, but they rushed forward. There was no suspense in this battle. Although these 5-star existences had displayed combat strength that exceeded that of a 6-star holy spirit, they were still no match for the immortal slayer. After killing the other 3 existences, they were all injured and retreated. It could be said that this battle was very tragic. The immortal slayer was still alive. The immortal king armor on his body was like the most powerful defensive equipment in the world. It could be said that it was indestructible. Just as Lei Zhenghong Tian and the others retreated, the others also began to retreat. Through this battle, they had figured out many problems and knew how to deal with an existence like the immortal slayer. Xing Yichen from the Holy Star Clan looked at the retreating crowd with a smile on his face. He turned around and glanced at Zichun. At this time, the injured Lei Zhenghong Tian and the others did not return to Zichen's world. Instead, they retreated to the periphery. There was a lot of space for people to speculate. Zichen stood expressionlessly above the world. His expression was not very serious, and he was still relaxed. He was definitely not an idiot for being able to make it this far. That clumsy act from before had almost embarrassed him to death. Wasn't it just setting up a trap? However, that Lei Zhenghong Tian was truly ruthless. In order to deal with him, he didn't even care about his own face. Looking at the 7 people retreating, Zichen was trying to figure out which force would be the first to launch the attack. The Sacred Star Clan? Or something else? How could this be? The young man, who hadn't made a move all this while, looked at the 7 members of the Holy Thunder Clan who were retreating. There was obvious doubt in his eyes. That guy is called Lei Zhenghong Tian. He is very famous in the Holy Thunder Clan. I happen to know that Zichun has a grudge with the Lei Zheng family. It seems that the 2 of them had a falling out. Ink said, however, he is also ruthless. After trying and knowing that he can't take down the world, He wants to borrow the hands of others to deal with Zichun. What do you mean? It's very simple. Killing the immortal slayer is too difficult, but killing Zichun is very easy. After all, he is only a 4-star. Hink looked at the 7 people who had retreated to the periphery and were beginning to heal and said, and while they are healing, they won't have time to make a move. Then, Zichun may lose the world. Once they recover, they will be furious and snatch the world back. At that time, the world will be theirs, and it will have nothing to do with Zichun. The young man nodded and said, these spirit clans really don't know how to be united. They deserve to be suppressed. The corners of Ink's eyes twitched slightly, but he didn't say anything. At this moment, there were already people charging forward. Their target was indeed Zichun's world. The one at the front was a 5-star holy spirit. There was more than one of them, and they came from many directions. No matter how powerful Zichun was, he was only one person. Everyone spread out and prepared to forcefully enter his world. Zichun stood on the planet. After seeing this scene, a meaningful smile appeared on his face. Then, he closed his eyes. His soul power spread out in all directions. He began to form hand seals. No one knew what Zichun was doing. Was he preparing a powerful move? However, the holy spirits were coming from several directions. Who should he attack first? Everyone was filled with doubts, including Xing Yichun. Speaking of which, even he might not be able to break through this situation, because there were too few people. Unexpectedly, at this moment, a scene that shocked him appeared. Zichun finished forming the last hand seal. Then, a ray of light lit up above the void. It was a ray of lightning. It was dazzling and pierced through the void. Then, there was a loud boom. A 5-star holy spirit was hit. His body suddenly trembled, and then he fell into the void. His aura disappeared. He was dead. The sky lit up again. Thunder continued to rumble, and the second lightning bolt fell. There was a scream. The second 5-star holy spirit died. Zichun's eyes were still closed, but his soul power was locked on to the surroundings. He could sense all the abnormal auras. He guided the lightning controlling technique and killed one holy spirit after another. At this moment, in this huge star field, there was only the sound of thunder and the occasional scream. Other than that, there was no other sound. Everyone was looking at Zichun with shock in their eyes. Even the immortal slaughterer and the other immortals on the other planets were looking at him. Thunder rumbled and fell from the sky. No one could survive. The 4-star Zichun used the lightning controlling technique to kill a 5-star holy spirit. There were already more than a dozen corpses in the void. During this time, no one could enter the world occupied by Zichun. If this continued, however many people there were, they would all die. Xing Yichun secretly waved his hand. The 5-star holy spirits that were charging forward turned back and stopped attacking. Zichun was very powerful. If it was in other places, it would be enough to intimidate everyone. However, it was not possible now because many forces and experts had come. If 5-star holy spirits were not enough, they would send 6-star holy spirits. Unlike the immortal slaughterer who was wearing the immortal king armor and could not be killed, Zichun was a 4-star holy spirit. Compared to others, it was much easier to kill. Therefore, the 5-star holy spirit stopped. It was just the beginning, not the end. With 6-star holy spirits charging forward, it was obvious that they were determined to kill Zichun this time. As for Lei Jing and Hong Tian, they were sitting cross-legged to heal their injuries. They turned a deaf ear to what was happening outside. Looking at the 6-star holy spirits charging forward, Zichun let out a sigh. A weapon appeared in his hand. Chapter 35-42. If he wanted to break out of this situation, the lightning controlling technique would not be of much use. He could kill a few 6-stars, but there were too many 6-stars here. He could not kill all of them. He needed a powerful force. A force that could intimidate everyone. Right now, he could only use the immortal spear. When he took out the immortal spear, a crystal appeared in his other hand. It was the core of the immortal king armor that was left behind after Xian Zhan died. He did not refine it at first because he was hesitant. He was not sure if he would become a puppet once he refined the immortal king armor. However, if he did not refine it now, What awaited him was the world being snatched away. Not only would he not have any credit, but he might even become a sinner. Under such circumstances, he had to give it his all. No matter what, he could not let Lei Jing Hongtian's plan succeed. Therefore, he began to refine the core. At this moment, a ray of light appeared from the planet below and came to Ziqin's side. It was the purple-gold immortal beast from before. Refining did not take any time or energy. It was like a process of recognizing a master. Ziqin, who was holding the battle spear, immediately had the battle armor appear on his body. Golden light shone as he put on the immortal king armor. At this moment, Ziqin was riding the immortal beast, wearing the golden armor and holding the battle spear, like the immortals on other planets. A powerful feeling spread throughout his body. Such a scene was out of everyone's expectations. Even Xing Yiqin was stunned. Obviously, he did not expect that his action would force the other party to put on the immortal king armor. The 6 stars were also stunned. However, in the next moment, everyone who heard the signal began to rush forward. They still entered from many directions. This way, even if Ziqin was wearing the immortal king armor, he could not defeat everyone. The immortal beast under Ziqin let out an angry roar and flew toward one of the 6-star saint spirits. When the other party saw Ziqin rushing over, he, who knew the difference between them, did not choose to take the initiative to attack. Instead, he chose to defend. Light lit up around his body, forming a shield. Countless starlight flickered on the shield. Those who could mobilize the power of the stars were naturally from the Saint Star clan. The other party was also one of the 4 Saint clans. However, Ziqin did not stop at all. He stabbed forward with his spear, and it was like a golden lightning bolt that tore through the void. Pa! His defensive light shield was broken, and the long spear continued forward, piercing through the 6-star Holy Spirit's body. The battle spear pointed towards the sky, and the body of the 6-star Holy Spirit hung there. This time, he was not as lucky as Ziqin. His surging vitality was instantly extinguished. The battle spear in Ziqin's hand shook, and the corpse of the 6-star Holy Spirit flew far away. His figure flashed and entered the world. Because at this moment, 6 stars had already rushed in. Outside the world, there were no more protectors. This caused the people waiting in the distance to reveal looks of joy in their eyes. Clearly, they wanted to forcefully enter this world. As they moved forward, Immortal Lu and the others watched this scene indifferently with disdain in their eyes. Everyone forcibly entered Ziqin's world, and after about 5 breaths of time, they ran out in horror. As they ran, a Holy Spirit shouted, "You can't go in. He's invincible inside." Immortal Lu and the others burst into laughter. After entering the world below, Ziqin felt that something was wrong with the immortal beast below him. An incomparable power flowed into his body. Invincible? Not at all. However, it was equivalent to being the ruler of this place, and it could ignore many rules of the world. He looked at the scattered 6-star Holy Spirits, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a sneer. With a flash of light, he disappeared from the spot. In the next moment, he appeared in front of a 6-star Holy Spirit and stabbed with his spear. His attack was even more powerful, and his speed was as fast as teleportation. Poof, poof, poof. In the blink of an eye, he, who had teleported several times, had killed several 6-star Holy Spirits. At this moment, more Holy Spirits descended from the sky, and they were charging at him menacingly. Ziqin snorted coldly and continued to kill the Holy Spirits with the speed of teleportation. Everyone who arrived here, regardless of their cultivation level, was killed by Ziqin with a single spear strike after encountering him. Corpses fell from the sky one after another. After killing more than a dozen Holy Spirits, these Holy Spirits were finally terrified. Then, they turned around and fled. In the blink of an eye, all the Holy Spirits had fled. Ziqin, who was riding on the back of the immortal beast, heaved a heavy sigh of relief. He had consumed a lot of energy in the successive battles. Fortunately, his battle record was glorious. Most importantly, he did not feel any discomfort with the immortal king armor on his body. After collecting the spoils of war, Ziqin's figure flashed again, and he rode the immortal beast to the outside world. At this moment, he had become the true guardian of this place. The golden armor on his body was dazzling and eye-catching. When Xing Yiqin saw this scene, his face gradually became gloomy. Obviously, he had suffered a great loss in cooperating with Lei Jing and Hong Tian. It should be known that those who were able to come here were all outstanding holy spirits. Unexpectedly, they had all died here. Although most of them could regenerate their bodies, they had also suffered great losses. Just regenerating their bodies required a lot of energy. Zichun held his battle spear and said indifferently, "Everyone, if you want to come, then come. I, Zichun, will accompany you to the end." This was obviously a provocation to everyone, or rather, a demonstration of power. This made many people angry, but no one dared to step forward. The previous battle had an absolute deterrent effect. Under such circumstances, Zichen's threat was not weaker than the Immortal Slayer and the others, even if he was only a 4-star. At the very least, no one had broken through the Immortal King armor. Everything had returned to square one. The only difference was that Zichun had completely lost hope in the Holy Thunder Clan's reinforcements. At this moment, he was actually very helpless. What was the point of continuing to protect this place? Let him cooperate with Lei Jing and Hong Tian? Obviously, this was impossible. Zichen's eyes flashed, and a thought that should not have appeared in his mind. Could it be that I have to cooperate with the Death Prison Star Pirates? He had always been protecting the reputation of the Holy Thunder Clan, and he was also willing to sacrifice for this clan. Who would have thought that he would be treated like this? This made it difficult for him to let go. Compared to Lei Jing and Hong Tian, Ma Moyi had reminded him several times. Although he did not know if Ma Moyi had good intentions, at least he had given him a kind reminder. This show could no longer go on. Zichun had shocked everyone, and the 7 core members of the Holy Thunder Clan, who were injured and did not care about worldly affairs, opened their eyes and announced that they had recovered from their injuries. Lei Jing and Hong Tian's expression was very ugly. This time, not only had he underestimated the combat power of the immortals here, but he had also underestimated Zichen's combat power. Now, Zichen had shocked everyone and forced everyone to retreat. He had lost the opportunity to occupy the planet. Chapter 35-43. Brother Hong Tian, what should we do next? Xiao Wu, who had also recovered from his injuries, looked at Lei Jing Hong Tian. Lei Jing's expression was slightly ugly. After a moment, he said, "Let's wait and see. Why don't we just go over and kill him? Don't tell me that the 7 of us can't beat him." Xiao Wu said angrily. These were obviously just words of anger. If they really fought face to face, the Holy Thunder Clan would lose a lot of face this time. In the end, no matter who was in the right, both sides would be punished. Lei Jing Hong Tian suddenly looked at the crowd and thought of a big problem. He said, "Xiao Wu, go and make arrangements. We need an explanation for what happened just now." Xiao Wu came to his senses and walked away while cursing. Whether it was the previous battle or the previous battle, there would always be many people watching from the periphery. For example, Ink and the young man did not make a move. They were like spectators. However, the number of spectators in the crowd was too small. Most of them came with a purpose. Ink noticed Xiao Wu's action and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He said, "It seems that this guy is not that stupid. What's wrong?" The young man asked in confusion. Ink said, "There are a lot of intelligence personnel of the Holy Thunder Clan in this. Naturally, we need an explanation for this incident. You know that those people are only in charge of delivering information. They say what they see, so they need a reason." "What reason?" "A reason why they didn't make a move, and why they didn't successfully occupy this world. That guy named Zichun is so despicable. He actually opened his mouth wide and asked for endless rewards. The Holy Thunder Clan actually cultivated such a guy. What a misfortune. This is the first time I've seen such greed. Previously, Zichun almost lost his life in order to kill the immortals. He was also the first to occupy a planet. With such a great contribution, it's not too much to ask for some rewards, right? It's not a problem to ask for rewards, but there has to be a limit. How many resources can these people bring? Why didn't they let them in first and talk about rewards later? Why did they chase them out? I say, The people who came later are really tough. They fought against the immortal slaughterer with serious injuries. It's really bitter. It was unknown when it started, but the sound of discussion was getting louder and louder. The content of their discussion was naturally the reason why the Holy Thunder Clan didn't go to the Zichen world. During this time, there were many rumors and different opinions. Just as these people were discussing animatedly, many people in the crowd began to retreat. These people were all intelligence personnel of various clans. As for which clan they belonged to, even the experts of various clans did not know. For example, Leijing Hongtian knew that there were people from the Holy Thunder Clan in the crowd, and he could contact them. However, he didn't know which of them were from the Holy Thunder Clan. The news spread to the other side of the vortex at the fastest speed. At this time, there were even more people here, and there was no lack of high-level experts among them. Due to the fact that those above 7 stars were unable to enter, some of the experts from the various powers had stopped outside. After hearing about the Holy Thunder Clan, some shook their heads and sighed, while others rejoiced in their misfortune. Obviously, everyone originally thought that since the Holy Thunder Clan was the first to conquer a world, they would have a lot of advantages after the reinforcements arrived. Who would have thought that there would be internal conflicts between them, causing them to be on the same starting line as everyone else? The Holy Thunder Clan was known as one of the most powerful clans in the Saint Spirit realm. Their strength was not only displayed in terms of strength, but also in terms of intelligence. They were also the best. Everything that happened here would spread to various important regions in a very short time, so that those who were paying attention to all of this would know what had happened here at the first moment. Among the countless flying ships that were rushing over, there was one that only had 2 people in it. It was a man and a woman. The man was gentle and elegant, wearing a plain robe. There was a faint smile on his face, and he looked like a bookish scholar. The other woman was wearing a brightly colored dress. She was not very old, but she was gorgeously dressed, and her face was extremely beautiful. At this moment, she was looking through a jade slip in her hand, and her pretty and slightly immature face gradually revealed an expression of anger. In the end, this young woman's eyes were filled with malice. Preposterous. This is simply preposterous. Lei Wuxing, look, this is simply too much. After hearing this, the young man's smile faded. He touched his nose and said, Wu Shuang, I'm your brother. Isn't it bad for you to always call me by my name? Take a look at this, then talk to me about other things. The woman named Lei Wuxuang threw the jade slip in her hand over. The jade slip was very fast, like a bolt of lightning. It also carried a powerful force, and the sound of wind and thunder. How was this giving something? It was clearly killing. If Lei Wuxing directly dodged, then this flying ship would instantly disintegrate. Lei Wuxing shook his head slightly, then stretched out his hand to grab the jade slip. With a bang, the jade slip that contained a powerful force was firmly grasped in his hand. I say, aren't you a little too strong? What if you accidentally shatter it? Lei Wuxing looked at the intact jade slip and said with some heartache, this is very important information. At this moment, if others were here, they would definitely be shocked by the methods of the two. First of all, Lei Wuxuang controlled all her power on the jade slip. During this time, she also ensured that the jade slip would not shatter and that the energy would not spread to the surroundings. Lei Wuxing's method was even more powerful. In an instant, not only did he have to neutralize the strongest power on the jade slip, but he also had to protect the jade slip from being shattered by the shockwave. This was something that very few people could do. If Zichen was here, he would also shake his head and sigh, because even he could not do it. This showed that the two of them were extraordinary. A wisp of soul entered the jade slip. Lei Wuxing looked at the contents and sighed, still with a smile on his face. There was no change. This is really infuriating. When I get there, I will definitely smash that guy called Zichen's head. Lei Wuxuang said angrily, not only is he embarrassing himself, but he is also discrediting the entire Holy Thunder Clan. Chapter 35-44. Lei Wuxing, who had just expressed his opinion and was still rather pleased with himself, had his ear pinched by the girl beside him. Lei Wuxing hurriedly begged for mercy. Do you still have any conscience? The Holy Thunder Clan raised us, and now you're smiling so happily when you see this despicable guy. What, Do you want to die like him? Lei Wuxuang, who was pinching Lei Wuxing's ear, lectured him. It's a misunderstanding, little sister. Don't misunderstand me. I said it's interesting because once we get there, we can blow his head off. Lei Wuxing hurriedly smiled apologetically and said, Of course, since little sister has decided to blow his head off personally, then I'll change places and break his 3 legs. How about that? Bah, how despicable. Lei Wuxuang's pretty cheeks flashed with a touch of blush, but she also let go of Lei Wuxing at this time. Lei Wuxing rubbed his red ear, laughed and said, Little sister, do you think it's difficult to take down a world? Of course it's difficult. Even Lei Zhonghongtian didn't succeed. How could it be easy? Lei Wuxuang said with dissatisfaction, Do you still need to ask me such an idiotic question? Since it's so difficult, how do you think that guy called Zichun, who's only a 4-star, did it? Lei Wuxing asked again. Lei Wuxuang's eyes were filled with anger again. You want to speak up for him? Feeling the sudden drop in temperature, Lei Wuxing hurriedly stretched out his hand to beg for mercy and explained, No, I'm just curious, just curious. Think about it, Lei Zhonghongtian and several people couldn't take it down, but that 4-star guy called Zichun could. Is it because he's lucky? Lei Wuxuang thought for a moment. Of course he's lucky, but he should also have strength. She recalled the information she saw before and said, Yes, I admit that he has some strength, but before Lei Wuxing could finish speaking, he was interrupted by his brother, Lei Wuxing. If that's the case, why did he risk his life to conquer the planet? Are you stupid? Of course it's to ask for a reward. Didn't you read the news that he asked for a sky-high reward? Lei Wuxuang gave her brother a hard knock on his head. Her pretty face revealed a look of exasperation. Lei Wuxing cried out in pain and then praised. Little sister's analysis is indeed unique. That Zichun is really despicable. Do you really think so? Lei Wuxing looked at Lei Wuxing. Lei Wuxing nodded and said, Of course. After listening to little sister's analysis, I was immediately enlightened. I will definitely break his legs when I get there. Lei Wuxuang seemed to have thought of something and turned her head to look elsewhere. Her pretty face blushed again. Humph, to think that you thought so highly of him when we came here. I didn't expect him to be such a despicable person. Lei Wuxing turned his head to look at Lei Wuxuang and deliberately said loudly, I didn't think highly of him. Don't talk nonsense. In my eyes, he's just a junior. A despicable junior. Lei Wuxuang said angrily, Yes, despicable junior. When the time comes, you hit his head and I'll hit his legs. Lei Wuxing immediately agreed. Scram. Lei Wuxuang immediately turned her head and glared at Lei Wuxing. Scram now. Little sister, this is the airship. Lei Wuxing looked troubled. Immediately, right now? Lei Wuxuang said angrily. How about I do it myself? No, I'll do it myself. The airship's cabin door opened and Lei Wuxing flew out. After leaving, the airship continued to move forward without any intention of stopping. Looking at the airship leaving, the smile on Lei Wuxing's face gradually disappeared and was replaced by a solemn expression. Whoosh! At this moment, a ray of light appeared behind him. A man in black cupped his fist in the air and said, Sir, what orders do you have? Use my authority to access the core information about this time. Lei Wuxing said. The man in black behind him looked slightly surprised. Is there a problem? Lei Wuxing raised his eyebrows and a murderous aura suddenly emerged. Sir, please wait. The man in black disappeared. About 15 minutes later, the man in black appeared again with a second jade slip. This jade slip contained the most important information. It was completely different from the previous one. Only those with special authority would know of the existence of this information and have the right to access it. This core information was more detailed and did not have any emotions in it. It could restore everything that had happened. After carefully reading the latest information, the jade slip in his hand turned into dust and disappeared. Lei Wuxing said, as an intelligence officer, what is the most important thing? The man in black behind him immediately said, Restore reality. Lei Wuxing nodded and said, He can disappear. He threw the first jade slip out. The man in black hurriedly caught it and then disappeared after cupping his fist at him. Obviously, The next step was to find the source of the information and see what went wrong. Lei Wuxing flew forward. In an instant, his speed was even faster than the airship. Little sister, I was wrong. I will help you kill that Zichun. Lei Wuxing's voice spread in this world of nothingness. At this time, the two were heading toward the buried star sacred region. Time passed, and experts from various races arrived one after another. Since the last battle with Lei Jing and Hong Tian, many people had discovered the only weakness of these guardians. Therefore, these experts also brought other things with them. Sacred talisman. Sacred talisman that specialized in killing souls. The weakest grade was 6 stars. Under such circumstances, everyone naturally had great confidence in conquering the world. This made Zichen feel pressured, but he still wore the armor to protect the world. In the past few days, Lei Lan had discovered other veins. It was a strange, or with extremely high quality, comparable to the weapons of the sacred spirits. It could be said that this world really had many good things that needed to be discovered slowly. Therefore, he had to guard this place even more. The powerhouses of the sacred star race launched their attacks at Immortal Slaughterer. Along with the surging power of the star race, Xing Yiqin led a group of powerhouses that were proficient in soul attacks to launch an attack on Immortal Slaughterer, whose soul had been severely damaged. This time, the sacred star race came prepared and sent out all their experts. After Immortal Slayer risked his life to kill several 6 stars, his soul was destroyed and he died. In this battle, the sacred spirit race lost 6 stars, sacred spirits, and a 7-star sacred talisman. However, their harvest was not small. They conquered the largest world, and were also the second existence to obtain a planet. After Immortal Slayer died, the Immortal Beast, Immortal King Armor, and Immortal Sword were all left behind. After seeing that the 7-star sacred talisman was effective, more forces arrived. Chapter 35-45. The 4 holy clans conquered the worlds one after another and then entered them. Of course, this did not include the Holy Thunder Clan. Although the Holy Thunder Clan had conquered the worlds, the Holy Thunder Clan had yet to enter them. The advantage that the Holy Thunder Clan had accumulated because of Zichen had long disappeared. During this time, there were more rumors and slanders. Many people pointed their spears at Zichen, thinking that he was too careless. As for Lei Jing, Hong Tian, and the others, although they were true experts, the Immortal King Armor was too strong. They could not break through it at all. They could only wait. As for the 7-star soul attack sacred talisman, they could not take it out. The experts of the major forces arrived one after another. Next was the 5 elements aristocratic families. Their foundation was also very deep. They had conquered 5 worlds one after another. 9 of the 18 worlds already had owners. Moreover, after conquering the worlds, many people found immortal stone veins in them. This made the forces excited. Lei Jing Hongtian stood there, his face turning uglier. The few people beside him also looked gloomy. Xiao Wu said worriedly, "Big brother Hongtian, if we don't solve this problem, when the people behind us arrive, will they directly announce that our mission has failed?" The others were also anxious. They were only one test away from becoming a core disciple. Once they succeeded, their status and authority in the Holy Thunder Clan would be greatly improved. At this moment, the 7 of them were all staring at Lei Jing Hongtian. The other party's face became gloomier and gloomier. Finally, he said, "I still have a trump card, but we need to wait. I don't think it's worth wasting it on this guy." The few of them obviously listened to Lei Jing Hongtian's arrangement and had no objections at this time. The next step was to wait. More worlds were conquered one after another. The forces that originally mocked and ridiculed Zichen now had a mocking expression. Although the Holy Thunder Clan was the first to conquer a world, they still had not entered it. This was extremely ridiculous. As one world after another was claimed, Lei Jing Hongtian finally understood the value of these mineral veins as he listened to the news of the various mineral veins. It was an immortal stone vein. The value of each immortal stone far exceeded that of holy crystals. But now, it was useless to regret. He could only wait. Lei Lan, who had always been searching for the secrets of the world, rarely appeared outside the world. Looking at the planets shrouded in various colors of energy, A hint of worry appeared on her haggard face due to her exploration. "What do you plan to do next?" she asked. "I have no plans," Zichun said faintly. All he could do now was to protect them. "Do you want to discuss it? We can't keep wasting time like this, can we?" Lei Lan suggested. Zichun shook his head and said, "I suspect that Hong Tian is from the Leijing family." Leijing family, Leijing Hong Tian? Lei Lan's expression suddenly changed as she cried out involuntarily, "I remember now. The Leijing family does indeed have such a genius." She became a core disciple early on and is now undergoing the core disciple assessment. Raising her head again, Lei Lan said, "No wonder he targeted you the moment he arrived. It must be him." Zichun had already told Lei Lan about the conflict between him and the Leijing family. He didn't expect the leader to be from the Leijing family. Lei Lan said angrily, "I really don't know what those people are thinking. They clearly know about the conflict between you two, yet they still sent him here. Is the soul-gathering crystal mine worthless in their eyes?" After knowing the other party's identity, Lei Lan was very clear that there was no way for them to reconcile. "Then what do you plan to do?" Lei Lan said helplessly. "We can't keep wasting time like this. Let's wait a little longer. The Holy Thunder Clan will definitely send someone else. If that person is still related to the Leijing family, then we can only find someone to cooperate with," Zichun said. "Find someone to cooperate with?" Lei Lan looked at Zichun and instantly thought of a candidate. "Are you sure?" Zichun let out a sigh. If there were other ways, why would he cooperate with the Death Prison Star Pirates? Unfortunately, he didn't have his own force. Lei Lan didn't have it either. There was a huge mine here, and no one was mining it. If he didn't cooperate with the Death Prison Star Pirates, what else could he do? At this time, a man and a woman appeared outside the whirlpool. The man looked kind and always had a smile on his face. The woman was beautiful, but she had a fiery temper. Wherever she passed, a powerful aura surged and shook the people around her away. Looking at the young man behind her, the woman said with dissatisfaction, "Lei Wuxing, if you don't hurry up, I'm going to get angry." Coming. My dear, are you really going to blow up that guy's head?" Lei Wuxing walked over with a smile. He didn't look like an older brother at all. He was clearly a lackey. Originally, many female cultivators had a good impression of Lei Wuxing because of his unique temperament. Now that they saw his spineless appearance, they all shook their heads with disdain. Lei Wuxing ignored the crowd and came to Lei Wuxing's side. The two entered the whirlpool. After the two walked out from the other side of the whirlpool, Leijing Hongtian saw them and walked forward. "I'm sorry." Looking at the two, he immediately cupped his fists, his face full of shame. But before he could say anything else, he was interrupted by Lei Wuxuang. "Cut the crap. Where's that guy who's courting death?" Leijing Hongtian was stunned. Lei Wuxing explained, "Little sister is talking about Zichun. She wants to blow up his head." Leijing Hongtian was delighted, but his face showed that he couldn't bear it. He said, "Please calm down. This is my fault. Zichun, cut the crap. Where's that guy? I'm going to blow up his head." Lei Wuxuang said angrily, "Such a person doesn't deserve to be a disciple of the Holy Thunder Clan." Xiao Wu, who had been suppressing his anger, pointed at the planet Zichun was on and said, "There he is. Not only does he occupy the smallest planet, but he's also very arrogant. I don't know what he's so arrogant about. Let's go." Lei Wuxuang immediately waved her hand and walked forward like a big sister. During this time, she didn't take the path opened by the other forces. Instead, she went straight ahead. When she was besieged by a group of exotic beasts, the energy around her body fluctuated, and countless lightning bolts swam around her. All the exotic beasts seemed to be fixed in place, hanging there motionless. In the next moment, there was a loud bang, and countless exotic beasts were sent flying. More than half of them were directly killed. Leijing Hongtian and the others followed behind, their eyes full of shock. At the same time, they were overjoyed. If that was the case, this matter would be easily resolved. "Zichun, I have a trick up my sleeve. Don't let me down this time." A smile flashed across Leijing Hongtian's face. Lei Wuxing walked at the back, expressionless. Chapter 3546. Zichun was still standing on the planet. He had already seen what was happening in the periphery. He didn't expect that the second batch of reinforcements would only consist of 2 people. His mood became heavy. Energy vibrations came from the front. The young woman from the Thunder tribe was walking at the front. She easily killed the surrounding exotic beasts. This caused his expression to change and his heart to skip a beat. Clearly, this person was a powerful existence. They were walking toward him. There were 9 of them in total. They attracted a lot of attention along the way. Zichun rode on the back of the immortal beast, holding a battle spear. When he met the eyes of the woman at the front, he didn't know why, but he became nervous. This feeling was stronger than when he fought in the immortal war. This is the immortal king armor? The young Lei Wushuang was extremely fast. After arriving at the planet where Zichun was, she looked at Zichun from head to toe. That's right. Lei Hongtian, who had been following behind, nodded. It's a turtle shell, but it's decorated so conspicuously. You're really showing off. Lei Wushuang stopped 10 feet away from Zichun. She looked at him and said, You're Zichun? You're not willing to hand over the world? Zichun was stunned. He didn't know how to answer because she was too direct. Good that you admit it. I'll blow your head off. Lei Wushuang was very satisfied with Zichun's reaction. She moved forward. A whistling sound came from the air. It was her delicate body that made contact with the void. It was like a weapon flying at high speed. Her brightly colored dress gently fluttered, and her head of black hair also fluttered in the wind. Her face was cold and carried a murderous aura. At the same time, she gave off a strong sense of threat, and at the same time, there was also a kind of soul-stirring beauty. However, Zichun didn't have time to appreciate her beauty. In his eyes, this beauty was a ferocious beast in human form. Only the word terrifying could describe her. Facing his opponent, he chose to block and defend. Test first. Lightning flashed on the battle spear. He held it tightly and blocked in front of him. Lei Wushuang approached. Suddenly, lightning bloomed on her small pink fist. Countless dazzling thunderbolts surrounded it. There was a huge explosion. Zichun was about 300 meters away. The battle spear in his hand almost slipped out of his hand. A huge force entered his body, causing his blood and chi to surge. His heart trembled. The newcomer was indeed powerful. Hence, he shook the battle spear in his hand and urged the immortal beast to move forward. At the same time, he thrust the spear forward. Spear 9. As the spear pierced forward, he let out a low shout, and the battle spear in his hand instantly turned into 9, each with a fierce aura, extremely terrifying. This was a technique that had been used in the Immortal War, and now Zichun was using it. It was the only thing he had gained from guarding this place with his spear. The spear technique was within the spear. Seeing that Zichun actually dared to attack her, Lei Wushuang coldly snorted. She put one hand behind her back and extended the other to punch forward. This punch instantly split into 9 and met the 9 spear lights. With a loud boom, the battle spear lights exploded one after another. When the energy dissipated, Zichun was once again pushed back 300 meters. Looking at Lei Wushuang, who only used one hand, her brother Lei Wuxing shook his head and said with some shame, "This is too much of a bully. It's a woman beating a man, and she even used one hand. Who can endure such humiliation?" Lei Hongtian and the others stood at the side and sneered. This master was the real expert. At this time, on the other planets, holy spirits appeared one after another. Everyone was staring at the battle between the two with shocked expressions. Zichun had always displayed great strength. Who would have thought that he would be pushed back by a very young woman with one hand? And this woman, no one knew who she was, as if she was a nameless person. What's her background? The young man who was still standing at the periphery frowned as he watched this scene. His expression was rarely serious. There are no clues, and she's so powerful. She must be the most mysterious core of the Holy Thunder clan. Emoji had tried to find clues about the other party before, but to no avail. It was as if the other party was really a nameless person who had appeared out of nowhere today. The core of the Holy Thunder clan is a woman? The young man was stunned. Emoji said, "In the Holy Spirit realm, there are many female holy masters." The young man was silent. On the planet, Zichen's expression became extremely solemn because the other party was too strong. She dared to fight him with only one hand. He urged the immortal beast under him to attack again. This time, it was Spear 6. The original power of Spear 9 was now fused and gathered in Spear 6, making this move even more powerful. At present, he could only do this step. As for Spear 3 and the strongest spear of heaven and earth, he couldn't do it. Zichen's spear shot straight forward. When he saw the other party's mocking gaze, Zichen lost some of his confidence. He shouted loudly, and the power that was poured into the battle spear underwent an obvious change. The original golden power of thunder turned into black flames at this moment, with occasional sparks jumping. One spear turned into 6 spears. Each spear light became incomparably terrifying, like the sharpest weapon in the world. Lei Wushuang, who was originally indifferent, finally had a change in her eyes. She became serious, but then, she mocked, "You don't understand the power of the Holy Thunder Clan and strive to bring it to greater heights, but you actually learn those miscellaneous powers." Lei Wushuang was still clenching her small fist with one hand. However, the power that appeared on her fist had changed. Although it was still the power of thunder, it was very condensed. Lightning surged in it, as if there were little thunder flames. She quickly threw out 6 punches, colliding with Zichen's 6 spears. The spear light exploded, and the powerful energy shook. Lei Wushuang's delicate body crossed the violent energy and arrived in front of Zichen. Her last punch hit Zichen's chest. Boom! It was as if there was a clap of thunder that exploded in Zichen's chest. The terrifying power directly passed through the immortal king armor and into Zichen's body. Zichen was sent flying for the 3rd time. Blood splattered in the sky. Even with the protection of the immortal king armor, he was still injured by a single punch. Lei Hongtian and the others' pupils constricted. Was this the true ultimate power of the core? Although the other party was a 6-star realm, 1 star higher than them, wasn't this battle strength too terrifying? Lei Wuxing covered his eyes, unable to bear to look directly. It was too tragic. However, as her brother, he was very gratified that his little sister's original admiration for Zichen had turned into hatred. "Your tortoiseshell is not bad. It's quite durable. My mood has improved." Lei Wushuang waved her fist and said, "I'll give you a chance now. Take the initiative to give up the world. Otherwise, I'll really blow your head off." Zichen wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and stared at the beautiful and valiant woman in front of him. He said coldly, "If you want the world, just follow the rules. Beat me and the world will naturally be yours." After saying that, his figure flashed and entered the world below. Chapter 3547. What did you say? Lei Wushuang originally wanted to give Zichen a way out, but after hearing Zichen's words, her beautiful eyes were filled with anger. A mere 4-star dared to challenge the core of a 6-star? Zichen ignored her and entered his own world. This was a truly powerful enemy. He had to give it his all here. A faint smile appeared on Lei Hongtian's lips. This was how it should be. Otherwise, his trump card would be useless. Everything was going according to his prediction. Lei Wushuang rushed in angrily. Lei Hongtian stopped smiling and said, "Not good. In that world, Zichen's speed will be greatly increased. Let's go in quickly." The 7 of them immediately entered. Lei Wuxing was still the last to enter. He was not too worried about his little sister, but he was curious about Zichen's performance. However, when he entered and saw the scene in front of him, a look of surprise appeared on his face. He saw that Zichen was using a speed comparable to teleportation, constantly circling around his little sister and attacking. His little sister could only stay in place, suppressed. Looking at Lei Wushuang, who was gritting her teeth in anger, Lei Wuxing could not help but laugh. Good boy. He had some tricks up his sleeve. Lei Wuxing only dared to praise him in his heart, but he did not dare to say it out loud. "Thief, do you know how much progress you've delayed? If you don't hand over the world, I won't forgive you," Lei Wushuang said angrily. However, Zichen's speed was too fast. It was as if he was teleporting, constantly flashing around her. She was helpless at this moment. "If you want the world, we'll see what you're capable of." Zichun said coldly. As he flashed, he repeatedly attacked with his spear, looking for a chance to defeat his opponent. After Lei Wushuang failed to hit Zichun several times, she turned around angrily and cursed, "Lei Wuxing, can't you see that your grandaunt is being bullied? You just stood there and watched the show. Am I still your family?" Lei Wuxing, who was still watching the show, immediately pulled a long face when he heard Lei Wushuang's words. He said, "There's no other way. He has a natural advantage here. Even I would be suppressed. Besides, I can't even beat you. I'll be beaten up if I go up. Then you come over here and take the beating. I'll go up and beat him up." Unparalleled Thunder said again. Lei Wuxing said awkwardly, "That's not good, is it? Us two 6-stars fighting against a 4-star opponent. If news of this spreads out, losing my face is a small matter, but we can't lose your face as well, right? So you're just going to watch your sister get bullied? Lei Wuxing, are you still a man?" Lei Wuxing was furious. Helpless, Lei Wuxing could only look at the 7 people beside him. "If you have any good suggestions or methods, quickly take them out. I don't have any other ideas." Lei Zhenghongfang hesitated for a moment before saying, "I do have an idea, but it's a little too much of a bully." Lei Wuxing's eyes lit up. He said, "Then what are you standing there for? Quickly take it out. Bullying people is better than being bullied, right? Besides, I like to bully people. I believe my sister likes it too." "Yes, quickly take it out." Unparalleled Thunder shouted from afar. "We want to bully this guy." Lei Zhenghongfang smiled again. His expression was rather confident. The next moment, a token with lightning flashing appeared in his hand. A tyrannical aura was released from the token. The moment he saw this token, Lei Wuxing's expression changed. Lei Zhenghongfang's hand glowed. A powerful force surged, and he directly crushed this token. Following the crushing of the token, the entire world's time seemed to have come to a standstill. A ripple spread out, and time and space were disrupted. Zichun had sensed something amiss earlier. When the anomaly occurred, he immediately retreated far away. As the ripple surged, a light figure appeared. Zichun had never seen this person before, but he felt a familiar aura. Instantly, his expression changed, and he was extremely shocked. The smile on Lei Wuxing's face disappeared. He was not surprised, and he immediately saluted the light figure with a fist salute. Unparalleled Thunder ignored Zichun. He turned around and saluted from afar. "Greetings, Holy Senior." The 7 people, including Lei Zhenghong Tian, immediately saluted. Lei Lan, who was still exploring the surroundings, was also shocked by this aura. When she saw the light figure from afar, she immediately saluted, regardless of whether the light figure could see her or not. This was a necessary respect for the Holy Senior. After saluting, she flew over, and she was very worried about Zichun. Zichun stood still, and the shock on his face did not disappear for a long time. "What happened?" The Holy Senior's voice was heard. Lei Zhenghong stepped forward and seemed to be saying something to the Holy Senior. Unfortunately, the energy around them was too chaotic, and no one could hear what they were saying. After a while, the Holy Senior, whose face could not be seen, nodded. He then turned his head to look at Zichun and said, "Are you Zichun?" His voice was very calm, and it was not deliberate. However, it was naturally dignified. This was the power of the Holy Senior. Zichun saluted the Holy Senior with a fist salute. In fact, he was still shocked, as he did not expect the Holy Senior to be able to come here. "For your personal interests, you delayed the progress of the clan. Do you know your crime?" The Holy Senior spoke again. His voice was still calm, but there was a strong sense of oppression. When the Holy Senior was angry, heaven and earth lost their color. Facing the power of the Holy Senior, Zichun wore the Celestial King armor and resisted. He said, "I don't know." Everyone's face changed. They did not expect Zichun to be so bold. Lei Wushuang glared at Zichun fiercely. "Quickly hand it over, and then return to the Holy Thunder clan to receive your punishment," the Holy Senior said again. This time, there was more anger in his voice. The words of the Holy Senior were the highest order, just like the imperial edict of the emperor. Without waiting for Zichun to respond, the Holy Senior turned to look at Lei Wuxing and said, This time, you must do your best. This is a big matter to the Holy Thunder Clan. Do not be selfish. The Holy Thunder Clan has always been fair in its rewards and punishments. You should be able to judge this. Lei Wuxing saluted and said respectfully, I will remember the teachings of the Holy Senior. Zichen's matter is very important. Not only is he selfish, but he also disobeyed the order. You will personally arrange this matter and bring him back to the clan to receive his punishment. Do not make any mistakes, the Holy Senior said again. Lei Wuxing nodded to show that he understood. The Holy Senior's words were the final decision. Xiao Wu and the others looked at Zichen with pity and ridicule. You did not agree when I asked you to leave. Now, not only do you have to leave, but you will also be punished. Do you have any objections? The Holy Senior finally looked at Zichen. An even stronger force fell on Zichen, making it difficult for Zichen to breathe. If he was not wearing the Fairy King armor, this force would have severely injured him. Of course, Zichen's body was surrounded by lightning, and the power of the Holy Bone was activated. He was already angry, and he could not hold it in anymore. He said angrily, How can you say that I am guilty? I fought for this place and almost lost my life. Why? Wasn't it for the Holy Thunder Clan? But when your people came, they chased me away. They even looked down on the world that I fought for, saying that it was too small and that it was an insult to the dignity of the Holy Thunder Clan. If that's the case, why don't you fight for the macro world with your own abilities? You did not have the ability to fight for the macro world, but you colluded with others to plot against me. What happened in the end? You were still beaten like a dog by me. Chapter 35:48. The surroundings were quiet. Everyone stared with their eyes and mouths wide open, as if they were petrified. In the Holy Thunder Clan, or even in the entire Saint Spirit world, the words of the Lord were the imperial edict of the human world. If he said it, he had to carry it out. If he was not wrong, he had to carry it out. If he was wrong, he had to carry it out. Who dared to refute the Lord? However, not only did Zichen refute, but he also dared to use the word F*King in front of the Lord. In the end, he even said that he knew who the Lord was. At the same time, everyone looked at Zichen as if he was an idiot. In other words, they looked like a dead person. How dare you? The Lord was furious. An even more powerful aura shrouded the area. I think you are the one who is being impudent, Zichen shouted. His immortal king armor shone brightly. His aura was not strong enough to be heard. Do you know the reason? Did you ask me what happened? Did you say that I am guilty? Let me tell you. You can appear here because I risked my life to conquer this world and refine it. That is why it can accommodate one of your clones. Zichen said angrily, You are standing in the world that I conquered and saying that I am guilty. I think that if I am really guilty, I should not have risked my life to conquer this world. Looking at the anger in the Lord's eyes, Zichen said bluntly, There are many holy sages in the Thunder Clan, but I can guess who you are. You must be the holy sages of the Leizheng family, and this guy must be from the Leizheng family as well. Didn't I have some grudges with the Leizheng family? But for the future of the Holy Thunder Clan, I let bygones be bygones. After conquering this world, I was still willing to give it to you. But what did you do? You chased me away as soon as you arrived. Zichen pointed at his feet and said, It doesn't matter if you don't contribute to me, but you shouldn't look down on this world that I've conquered. That's because Lei Lan had spent a lot of effort to decide on this. This world is F*King small. I admit, there's nothing wrong with that. However, the resources here are much more than those huge worlds. Now, other than the huge high-grade immortal stone vein and the special metal ores that can be used to refine saint weapons, there are also some undiscovered resources. You don't know shit, yet you come here to criticize me. Now, you even want to punish me? The smile on Lei Wuxing's face disappeared. He knew part of the truth, but he didn't know the whole truth. He also knew that Zichen had been treated unfairly this time, but he didn't expect Zichen's reaction to be so intense. Moreover, he did not give the holy venerable any face. Who in the world dared to point at the Lord and scold him? He suddenly had a bad feeling in his heart and immediately looked to the side. Sure enough, He found that the way his little sister looked at Zichun had obviously changed. Damn it, I shouldn't have let him be in the limelight. Lei Wuxing cursed in his heart, but he was already regretting it. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have just watched the show. He should have dealt with this matter earlier. The Holy Venerable was completely stunned. He had never encountered such a situation before, so he didn't know what to do. How dare you, Zichun? How dare you be rude to the Holy Venerable? Lei Zhang and Hong Tian shouted angrily, their eyes filled with murderous intent. The other 6 people's eyes immediately turned cold. They even rushed towards Zichun, wanting to take him down. Haha. Feeling the increasingly terrifying aura from the Holy Venerable, Zichun sneered and ignored the other 6 people. He said, how sarcastic. When we first heard that there was an opportunity here, Lei Lan and I made up our minds to do something for the Holy Thunder Clan. So, we came here to fight against the immortals, but we also have to be careful of the tigers and wolves around us. I'm only a 4-star, but I'm the first to conquer a world. What does that mean? Zichun pointed at himself, his eyes filled with disappointment. It's not that I'm stronger than others, but that I'm brave enough to risk my life. But what happened in the end? Zichun looked at Lei Zhang and Hong Tian. When this guy came, he asked me to leave without saying anything. He said that he wanted to go back to the Holy Thunder Clan to get the reward. I fought so hard to conquer this world, so I could go back to get the reward? In order to discourage me, this idiot said that the world I conquered was too small, and that it would damage the reputation of the Holy Thunder Clan. He didn't like it at all. Well, if you don't like it, then get out and fight on your own, okay? Zichun sneered. In the end, this idiot couldn't even defeat me. Not only that, he pretended to be injured, and then secretly signaled the other forces to attack me. Then, he waited to take back the world that he didn't like before. You're talking nonsense. Lei Zhang Hongtian scolded angrily. Things were obviously out of his expectations. He never thought that Zichun would be so bold that he didn't even listen to the Lord's order. Is this your reason and excuse for disobeying my order? The Lord, who came from the Lei Zhang family, said indifferently, is this your reason and excuse for delaying the progress of the Holy Thunder Clan and causing us to lag behind others? The Lord's eyes became extremely cold. If the Holy Thunder Clan is full of selfish people like you, would they be able to develop until now? Since you're a member of the Holy Thunder Clan, you should obey my order. If you have any doubts, you should do it after you've executed it. What right does an unruly person like you have to stay in the Holy Thunder Clan? Listening to the Lord's cold voice, Zichun laughed. You're talking so righteously, but aren't you just trying to take away my harvest? And you want to take away my credit? If the Holy Thunder Clan is full of people like you, I wouldn't want to be a member of the Holy Thunder Clan. Even if you beg me to stay, I won't. Zichun, how dare you say such disgraceful words? You're asking for death. Lei Zhang Hongtian's eyes were filled with murderous intent again. The other 6 people had stopped. It wasn't that they didn't want to kill Zichun, but when they got close to Zichun, the Lord's aura was too terrifying, making it difficult for them to move. Very well. I thought that we shouldn't wash our dirty linen in public, and I'll punish you when we get back. Since you can't wait, then don't blame me for being impolite. I'll execute the rules of the Holy Thunder Clan. Lei Wuxing stood aside and remained silent, like a spectator. He acted as if it had nothing to do with him. Lei Wuxuang, on the other hand, became very anxious. There was a complicated expression on her beautiful face. She kept winking at Lei Wuxing, but he was indifferent. It was as if he didn't see it. My lord, it's not like that. Zichun is wholeheartedly doing what he wants for the Holy Thunder Clan. Lei Lan, who was standing aside, quickly said, My lord, please don't punish Zichun. We don't want this world anymore. Lei Lan, you don't have to do this. Zichun said, I don't want this world anymore, but they don't want it either. My lord, right? Let's see if your doppelganger can still exist after I give up this world. You deceived your master, destroyed your ancestors, and betrayed your sect. Now, I declare your death. This time, the sacred venerate really wanted to kill Zichun. A strong pressure swept towards Zichun. Zichun, who had originally planned to give up this world, suddenly felt a strong aura fall on him. In the face of this aura, he temporarily lost control of his body. This made him realize that something bad was going to happen. That moment of absent-mindedness was enough to cost him his life. This was the first time that the Lord deliberately used his aura, but it brought the threat of death to Zichun. His body couldn't move, and he could only wait for death to come. Lei Lan and the others were also unable to move. Chapter 35:49. When this voice sounded, the pressure on Zichun instantly dissipated. Zichun, who was able to move freely, did not take the opportunity to continue abandoning this world, because he recognized the owner of the voice, and his eyes were filled with joy. As he turned around, he really saw a familiar young man. It was the bloodline ancestor. Zichun greets the ancestor. Seeing the young man in front of him, Zichun became extremely excited and immediately bowed. He couldn't wait to hug the young man and kiss him. Just when he was about to lose hope in the Holy Thunder Clan, he finally saw someone he could trust. The bloodline ancestor seemed to be very pleased with Zichun's attitude. He deliberately said in an old-fashioned manner, "Look at your expression. I know that you sincerely worship me." Zichun nodded repeatedly and said, "Of course. You are the ancestor that I admire the most. In the Holy Thunder Clan, I only admire you, bloodline ancestor." The bloodline ancestor shook his head proudly and seemed to be very pleased with Zichun's flattery. Zichun came in front of the bloodline ancestor and deliberately bent down to be at the same height as the other party. He said with a smile like a lackey, "Ancestor, why are you suddenly here?" Everyone was dumbfounded. Lei Wuxing, in particular, widened his eyes and looked at Zichun with eyes full of admiration. Previously, Zichun had generously faced death with a strong sense of righteousness, which moved people, but in the next moment, he was so shameless. He changed his attitude so quickly that there were no flaws. He felt ashamed of his inferiority. Then he secretly glanced at his little sister. Obviously, she was also wide-eyed and shocked by this turn of events. She snorted and muttered, "This guy, I was worried about his life and death before, but I didn't expect him to be so shameless now." And the bloodline ancestor, "You're obviously the ancestor of the Holy Thunder Clan. Can't you hear his disgusting flattery? Humph, if I didn't come, you and the Holy Thunder Clan would have been in trouble." The bloodline ancestor, who was still a teenager, said proudly, "Everything from your life to the crisis of the Holy Thunder Clan will naturally be solved by me, the omnipotent ancestor." After saying that, he glanced at Zichun complacently, as if to say, "Look, I'm already so powerful. Why don't you show me something?" Zichun was also very tactful. He sighed and said, "Ancestor, your magical power is profound. Your combat power is unparalleled, and you are omnipotent. Zichun is truly in awe of you. It is truly the great fortune of the Holy Thunder Clan and all of us to have a holy venerable who cares about our junior disciples like the Patriarch." Lei Lan, who was at the side, suddenly shuddered as disgust rose in his heart. She turned her head to look at Zichun as if she was looking at a stranger. This was too shameless. It was too disgusting. The others also had a look of disdain on their faces. It was rare to see someone flatter someone to this extent. Moreover, it was so lowly. Unexpectedly, the bloodline ancestor enjoyed it very much and became even more proud. He glanced at Leijing Hongtian and the others, indicating that they should also say something. These people only came to their senses at this time and bowed to the bloodline ancestor. This also included Lei Wuxing and Lei Wushuang. Another holy venerable had arrived. The bloodline ancestor nodded proudly and then looked at Zichun again. "Bloodline ancestor, why are you here?" The holy venerable of the Leijing family was really worried that the two of them would continue to flatter the bloodline ancestor, so he immediately spoke up. The bloodline ancestor snorted and said, "If I didn't come, the strongest genius of the Holy Thunder Clan would have been killed by you." The strongest genius? What a boastful tone. This matter. Before the holy venerable could finish his words, he was interrupted by the bloodline ancestor. He said with a cold face, "Lei Zheng, I will not participate in the matter between your family and the Holy Thunder Clan, nor do I want to, but this time, you have gone too far." The Leijing family originated from the bloodline ancestor Leijing. His name became the surname of the Leijing family. The holy venerable raised his eyebrows, and there was obviously displeasure in his eyes. Do you know why I dare to say this? The bloodline ancestor looked at Lei Zhang and said proudly, because along the way, I have been protecting Ziqin's life and death. Lei Wuxing's lips curled into a smile, as if he had already expected this. Lei Hongtian's face immediately turned pale. Where was the truth? The truth was in the eyes of the holy venerable. The bloodline ancestor did not look at the ugly Lei Hongtian, but stared at the holy venerable and said, I have already informed the follow-up reinforcements to speed up and land here. As for your people, you can leave now. Lei Hongtian's face changed dramatically in an instant, and Xiao Wu and the others were also shocked. They were only one assessment away from becoming the real core of the Holy Thunder Clan. The success or failure of this incident would determine whether they could become the core of the Holy Thunder Clan. Bloodline ancestor, this matter. As soon as Lei Hongtian spoke, the bloodline ancestor glanced at him, and there was a hint of sharpness in his eyes. Your assessment is over. Looking at the somewhat dazed people, the bloodline ancestor said, the core of the Holy Thunder Clan is one of the most powerful forces of the Holy Thunder Clan. In addition to powerful strength and potential, you must have corresponding qualities. Your combat power is not weak, and your talents are very high. It can be said that you have the power of the core of the Holy Thunder Clan, but unfortunately, you do not have the qualities that the core of the Holy Thunder Clan should have. After so many years, your assessment ends today. The bloodline ancestor said, as for the 7 of you, you can go back the way you came, or prove yourself in other places. Now, leave this world quickly, and you are not allowed to intervene in this incident. The 7 people, including Lei Hongtian, instantly lost their spirit. From the beginning of the assessment of the core of the Holy Thunder Clan until today, it had lasted for more than 100 years. During this period, one participant after another was eliminated or died for various reasons, and only the 7 of them persisted. They were only one step away from success. The last step, they did not expect to be completely declared a failure today. In the 100-year assessment, they had encountered countless dangers, but in the end, they still failed. Lei Saint frowned and said, Isn't this punishment too heavy? Since the bloodline ancestor had witnessed everything, he naturally had a sense of propriety. However, this punishment was too heavy. The bloodline ancestor said, when the core of the Holy Thunder Clan was established, the bloodline ancestor said that if one's talent is not enough, one can make up for it with hard work. If one's combat power is not strong, one can make up for it with time. However, quality is very difficult to make up for, and that is the most important thing. As soon as his voice fell, the bloodline ancestor waved his hand and said, You can go now. The 7 people cast a pleading look at Lei Saint. Lei Saint said, It's not terrible to have flaws in life. What's terrible is to never be able to recover from a setback. We have to stand up from where we fell. Even if you are not the core of the Holy Thunder Clan in the future, you will still have great achievements. For the Holy Thunder Clan, you will still be the mainstay. Although this was an encouragement, it also showed that the bloodline ancestor's words were irresistible. At this point, Lei Hongtian cupped his fists at the 2 holy sages. Then, he cupped his fists at Lei Wuxing and Lei Wushuang. Then, he turned and left. He did not look at Ziqian. However, his anger towards Ziqian had long been buried in his heart like a seed. This matter was not over yet. Looking at the 7 people leaving, Lei Saint said, Since the bloodline ancestor is here in person, there is no need for me. Next, I will send someone to assist. The bloodline ancestor waved his hand and said, No need to trouble yourself. I have already arranged for the people. This matter is of great importance. There can't be any problems in any aspect. If there is a big harvest in the end, the fate of the 4 holy sages side by side may be rewritten. Lei Saint nodded and said, Since we can't provide timely help, then we can only add flowers to brocade. Don't worry, the Lei clan knows what to do. After saying that, Lei Saint's figure disappeared into thin air. He was just an avatar, not a real body. At this time, only the 2 outsiders, Lei Wuxing and Lei Wushuang, were left. Lei Wuxing was still smiling. His sister, Lei Wushuang, did not dare to look at the bloodline ancestor. She lowered her head in shame. I'm sorry. Chapter 3550. Lei Wuxing and Lei Wushuang stayed behind. Because they were the main force this time, the two of them were the real core. Unlike the previous 7 people, who were only one step away from success, they failed. The two of them had already passed all the tests and were at the 6-star realm, which indicated that they were the strongest here. Looking at the bloodline ancestor wandering around, Zichun stepped forward and asked in confusion, "Bloodline ancestor, why haven't you disappeared yet?" The bloodline ancestor turned around, jumped up from the ground, and knocked hard on Zichun's head. "You ungrateful boy. You burned the bridge after crossing the river. I just helped you out of danger, and now you want me to disappear?" His voice was young, but he pretended to be old, which made him look a little cute. Zichun rubbed his head and said aggrievedly, "Didn't the previous holy master leave? I think you should leave too." "Nonsense. I came here in person. How can I leave?" The bloodline ancestor said proudly. "You came here in person?" Zichun said in surprise, "Isn't there a suppression of the realm here?" Speaking of this, the bloodline ancestor was even more proud. He pointed to himself and said, "Those suppression are useless to me. Although I can only exert the battle strength of a 6-star realm, I'm much stronger than those guys who can't even use their doppelgangers." Zichun looked at the bloodline ancestor strangely. His expression reminded the bloodline ancestor of some unpleasant things in the past. He snorted and said, "Boy, do you still want to fight with me?" Zichun hurriedly said, No. Just a moment ago, he really wanted to test the bloodline ancestor's current strength. "That's good. Let's go. I still need to inspect this place. Little girl, come with me." After saying this to Lei Lan, the bloodline ancestor turned around and left decisively. Lei Lan followed him. Lei Wushuang looked at Zichun with a strange look in her eyes. She didn't know if it was an illusion, but she felt that the relationship between Zichun and the bloodline ancestor seemed to have undergone some wonderful changes after the bloodline ancestor told her the details. It seemed that the situation was reversed. The bloodline ancestor began to fear Zichun. Zichun walked over to Lei Wuxing, cupped his fist and said, "My name is Zichun. Please excuse me." Lei Wuxing cupped his fists and said, "Lei Wuxing, this is my little sister, Lei Wuxing." Lei Wushuang said to Zichun, "Hey, you're not mad at me, are you?" Zichun smiled and said, "How could I? You're at the pinnacle of core. I've never seen a pinnacle core before. I'm so excited." "Really?" Unparalleled Thunder looked at Zichun suspiciously. "It is my, Zichun's, greatest honor to be able to receive guidance from a core disciple." Glib-tongued. Sure enough, none of the men are good. Lei Wushuang turned her head away, but her expression had obviously returned to normal because of these few words. She was no longer brooding over the previous matter. Zichun pointed at the armor on his body and said, "I had no choice but to refine it to fight against the enemy. Now, I'll remove the ownership." Lei Wuxing waved his hand and said, "No need. This is your spoils of war. You should refine it. Those guys are really despicable. Not only did they deceive me with false information, but they also joined forces with others to deal with the people of our clan. They can forget about becoming a pinnacle core disciple even if they occupy one of these 2 points, let alone occupy 2 of them." Lei Wushuang said unhappily. Although she was a little naive, her character of hating evil was completely revealed. It was in line with the qualities of a pinnacle core disciple. Zichun said in a deep voice, "The quality of the Immortal King armor is extraordinary. Its defense is amazing. I think you will be able to make a greater contribution to the Holy Thunder Clan if you wear it." Lei Wuxing waved his hand again and said, "There's really no need. Even if we didn't gain anything this time, the resources of this planet are already a great harvest. Your current realm is too low. The Immortal King armor will be of great use to you." Seeing Lei Wuxing's determination, Zichun nodded and stopped arguing about this matter. He then asked, "What are your plans next?" "The others will be here soon. We'll talk about it when they arrive." This time, the Holy Thunder Clan was truly on the right track. There would be many powerhouses and geniuses from various aspects coming here. Not to mention what the inner world had, Just the mineral resources here were enough for the Holy Thunder Clan to pay attention to. After leaving Zichen's world, Leijing Hongtian's anger was almost uncontrollable. The other 6 people's faces were also very gloomy. The 100-year assessment had come to an end, and they had failed. From now on, they were no longer fated to be part of the inner world. Are we going to leave just like that? Xiao Wu said unwillingly. Leave? How is that possible? Leijing Hongtian said coldly. Although we have lost the qualification this time, as long as we get the largest share of resources, we will still have a chance. Everyone's eyes lit up as they saw hope again. Leijing Hongtian had Lord Leijing behind him. When Lord Leijing spoke earlier, he had implied that they would stand up from where they had fallen. If they really found the soul-gathering crystal mineral vein this time, their merits would outweigh their faults. In addition to Lord Leijing's words, it was not impossible to become part of the inner world. But with our strength, how are we going to conquer a world? After the battle with the immortal slaughterer, these people had lost their previous arrogance. They knew very well that even if they joined forces, they would not be able to conquer a new world. Leijing Hongtian said, there are a total of 18 planets. Those powerful forces can occupy one by themselves. Among them, there must be a joint team of other smaller forces. We will join them and use that as a springboard to enter the deeper worlds. Although he deliberately targeted Zichun, one had to admit that Leijing Hongtian was still knowledgeable. Everyone had to admit that the 4 holy clans were very powerful. However, they could only occupy one of the 18 planets. They did not dare to occupy more than one. If the major forces occupied a complete planet alone, they would naturally have to give the smaller forces a way to survive. Therefore, many forces would join forces to attack the planets and then divide them reasonably. After making up his mind, Leijing Hongtian began to think of ways to find a suitable force to join. The combat power of the 7 of them was obvious to all. If they were willing to contribute, there would naturally be many forces that were willing to open their doors to them. Just as the worlds were being conquered one after another, the Holy Thunder Clan's main force finally arrived. This time, there were existences of various professions. There were array masters who specialized in building teleportation arrays, and there were also existences who were born with keen senses and were suitable for mining mineral veins. Of course, there were also powerhouses who specialized in offense. Among them, the number of 6-star holy spirits was the highest. This was because this was the true extreme realm. It was also the most powerful force in this place. The teleportation array began to be built. It led directly to the outside of the vortex. Chapter 35:51. Staying in the world he had conquered, Zichen finally saw the true strength of the Holy Thunder Clan. More teams would arrive every day, and they were all top experts in all aspects. Now, 3 known mineral veins had been discovered. One of them was a super-large immortal stone mineral vein. Its quality was very high, and its price was immeasurable. Among the 18 worlds he had conquered, none of them could be compared to this immortal stone mineral vein. The 2 mineral veins could be used to refine holy spirit weapons, and they were both of high quality. There were even experts who had confirmed that the value of the core was comparable to the Holy Thunder Demon Bone of the Holy Thunder Clan. In addition, there were other resources on this planet waiting to be discovered. Many people had already predicted that the value of the many resources on this planet alone was already a huge and terrifying number. It could be said that this time, the Holy Thunder Clan had already made a huge profit. Originally, Lei Wuxing planned to build the teleportation portal quickly and then directly attack the core planet in the deepest part. But now, with all kinds of resources being excavated, he suddenly changed his mind and settled down here first. All kinds of people who were collecting resources were quickly rushing over, and many authorities were opened for him. At this time, in the entire Holy Spirit realm, many forces were paying attention to this place. Countless flying ships were moving forward, and all the people who had built the teleportation portal during this period were mobilized to this area. Interdomain teleportation portals were being built one after another. Beside these teleportation portals, there were holy spirits guarding them, and the weakest was 7-star. This was because all the holy spirits below 7-star had entered the vortex. In Zichen's world, More and more holy spirits were gathering, and the mining work was also in progress. At the same time, some formation masters began to build the teleportation portal to the core. Lei Wuxing had already planned to launch an all-out attack. The bloodline ancestor was still here, looking very leisurely, wandering around. He was obviously a young man, but he acted like an old man. The original city was left for the Holy Thunder clan to live in. Zichun came out of the city and stopped in a dense forest. The immortal beast mount was resting not far away. He held the battle spear in his hand. This time, he was not wearing the immortal king armor and was practicing the spear technique left behind in the immortal spear. He had already mastered Spear 9 and Spear 6, and he was gradually making progress on Spear 3. With his eyes closed, Zichen's energy slowly surged around his body. A gentle breeze blew through the forest like a spring breeze caressing his face. Suddenly, Zichen opened his eyes. The long spear in his hand shook, and a ray of light was released from the tip of the spear. He thrust his spear forward. The tip of the spear met with the air, bringing about a sharp whistling sound. 3 black dots were left in the air. Zichen had fired 3 shots in an instant. The 3 spear lights that pierced through space flew out for more than 10 feet before disappearing. Looking at the disappearing spear light, Zichen sighed. Spear 3 is easier to comprehend, but the spear of heaven and earth is much more difficult. According to the current progress, it will take at least a few months. Brat, the way you speak is even more annoying than the way I speak. An immature voice that was pretending to be an old man rang out. Zichen turned around and his eyes lit up when he saw the bloodline ancestor. Brat, what do you want to do? The bloodline ancestor stared at Zichen warily. I may be able to comprehend this spear art faster through combat. Zichen had no intention to hide his thoughts and said, Would you like to practice with me? Humph. Brat, what do you take me for? The bloodline ancestor stood with his hands behind his back. I have a lot of things to do every day. How can I have time to practice with you? Zichen scratched his head and said, But I see that you have nothing to do all day, ancestor. Why don't we just have a few simple moves? F***ck off. The bloodline ancestor was so angry that he wanted to curse, but he didn't dare to do so. He was worried that this guy would really attack him. He knew how eccentric this guy was. He coughed lightly and said, Brat, you only know how to practice all day long. You're getting more and more lawless. How dare you say that I have nothing to do? Let me tell you something. I called you here because I have something important to discuss with you. At the same time, I plan to give you some benefits. It seems that my actions are superfluous. After that, the bloodline ancestor raised his head and turned away. Benefits? Zichen put away his immortal spear and hurried forward to stop the bloodline ancestor and asked, What benefits? The bloodline ancestor looked at Zichen, who was close at hand, and said, Go and squat 10 feet away. Oh. Zichen was a bit confused, but for the sake of the benefits, he naturally didn't care about such a trivial matter. He retreated 10 feet away and squatted at the roots of the tree. He looked at the bloodline ancestor and asked, Is this okay? What exactly are the benefits? The bloodline ancestor breathed a sigh of relief inwardly. At present, he was only in the 6-star realm, and Zichen was too close to him, making him feel very uneasy. He made up his mind that after he went out, he would give this guy a good kick to vent his anger. At that time, he would rely on the power of the Saint Venerable to make Zichen kneel and beg for mercy, and he would say that he was wrong 10,000 times. Why aren't you talking, ancestor? Looking at the bloodline ancestor, who was a little absent-minded and slightly raised the corner of his mouth with a disgusting smile, Zichen shouted, Yes, nothing. The bloodline ancestor came back to his senses and glanced around. When he found that they were still in the dense forest, he looked at Zichen, who was squatting 10 feet away, and said, It's about this world. What do you think? Zichen was stunned. This world? What do I think? Bloodline ancestor, what do you mean? The bloodline ancestor said resentfully, Kid, are you really stupid? There are countless resources in this world, and the benefits are great. Otherwise, why would Leijing Hongtian target you? Kid, do you really think that he's doing this to vent the anger of the Leijing family? Isn't that so? Zichen asked. This is only one of the reasons. But the most important reason is that the opportunities here are too great. If he drives you away, he will take all the credit. At that time, the Lejeune family will definitely come forward to discuss the distribution of resources. The bloodline ancestor said, at that time, the Lejeune family will inevitably take a big bite out of them. There shouldn't be a big difference, right? Won't the Lejeune family get the benefits of the Holy Thunder Clan? Well, in the next moment, Zichun understood. The Lejeune family was indeed part of the Holy Thunder Clan, but the Holy Thunder Clan had more than one Lejeune family. Therefore, in this case, the resources obtained by the Lejeune family would naturally be put in their own family instead of the Holy Thunder Clan. Looking at Zichin's slightly changed expression, the bloodline ancestor said, "It seems that you're not that stupid, kid. This time, not only did you conquer this planet, but you also successfully eliminated Lejeune Hongtian's group of 7. It's also a great merit." Zichin looked at the bloodline ancestor in confusion. The Holy Thunder Clan had lost 7 people who were likely to become the core of the clan. Why was it a great merit? Over the years, because of Lei Zheng's rise, the Lejeune family's tentacles are getting longer and longer. If he becomes the core of the clan, the Holy Thunder Clan will lose its last pure land. Lejeune Hongtian has been trying to win over the people who participated in the assessment over the years, but everything happened within the scope of the rules. We have no right to eliminate them. The bloodline ancestor said, but this time, it's perfectly justifiable, so it's a great merit. In view of this contribution, I came to see you today. After our discussion, we've decided to give you a certain share of all the resources on this planet. Chapter 3552. Zichun fell silent. Originally, he fought so hard to conquer this world purely to contribute to the Holy Thunder Clan. He never thought that he would be able to occupy some shares. Because with the arrival of various talents, the value of this planet was gradually discovered. So far, this was the planet with the most resources among the 18 planets, even though it was the smallest. The value of these resources was countless times higher than that of Zichin's last auction. Now, the vain ancestor actually wanted to give him a share. This was something he never thought of, because the value was too great. Looking at the stunned Zichun, the vain ancestor said, "Don't be stunned. I'll tell you the truth. This time, all the harvest on this planet will belong to the Holy Thunder Clan. These holy spirits who came to mine will only be rewarded and won't occupy their share. All the resources this time will be divided into 100 shares, so you can choose a certain share." All the resources were divided into 100 shares, which was still a terrifying number. After seeing that the vain ancestor was not joking, Zichun said hesitantly, "How about I choose 3? The vain ancestor took a breath and almost choked. "What did you say?" "If 3 is too much, then I'll choose 2. Zichin hurriedly said, "I'll take 1, and Lei Lan will take 1. If it doesn't work, Lei Lan and I will take half each." Although it was only 1% of the resources, it was still a lot, a lot. "You're really stupid." The vain ancestor looked at Zichin and said, "But you're really doing this for the Holy Thunder Clan, and you already have the ultimate quality of a core. I think I'll find a time to arrange an assessment for you." A smile appeared on Zichin's face and he said, "So, ancestor, you agree?" "Agree my ass. To tell you the truth, before we came here, we estimated that we can give you about 10 to 15 shares. Zichin was shocked when he heard this. So much? It should be known that discovering resources was one thing, but excavating them and transporting them back to the sacred Thunder Tribe was another matter altogether. The manpower and material resources consumed in the process was an extremely huge number. These things naturally required resources. For example, the 7-star Holy Spirit guarding the teleportation array outside could not be bye-bye. There were also teleportation arrays constructed by array masters, which required a terrifying amount of materials to construct. These were also resources. The bloodline ancestor said, "We have already calculated this. If we give you 15 of them, we will consume about 35 of them. In the end, the Holy Thunder Clan will still be able to occupy half of them. This is only a rough estimate. It is possible that the final harvest will be even greater. Because there are capable people in every aspect, we can save a lot of costs." Zichin nodded and fell into deep thought. After a while, he said, 15 is too much. I want 10. 5 for me, and 5 for Lei Lan. Really? The vain ancestor asked. I gave you a very good price. Zichen smiled and said, of course it's true. The Holy Thunder Clan has treated me well, and now, I can finally do something for the Holy Thunder Clan. Let alone taking 10 shares, even if I didn't take a single share, I would still be willing. If other people heard this, wouldn't they die of shame? The bloodline ancestor's eyes changed. He was very moved. Fortunately, I am with you this time. Otherwise, the Holy Thunder Clan would have suffered a great loss. If that's the case, then this matter is settled. The bloodline ancestor said, the major forces have begun to communicate with each other these days, and it seems that they are about to attack the inner world. As for me, I can't accompany you to practice. When the time comes, you can go in and practice. I believe that the enemies inside will definitely satisfy you. So soon? Zichun was very surprised. The discussion will take some time, probably about half a month. You should prepare first. The bloodline ancestor turned and left. Wait. Looking at the bloodline ancestor who was about to leave, Zichun stopped him. Ancestor, are there really immortals in this world? The ancestor looked at Zichun, and his expression gradually became strange. Zichun said, is there an immortal world outside the 3 realms of God, demon, and spirit? The ancestor's gaze became more and more strange, but he did not answer Zichun and turned to leave. This made Zichun very surprised. Previously, he felt that the ancestor looked at him as if he was an idiot. There should be an immortal world, right? Their auras are obviously different from ours. Zichun sat there alone and began to think about this matter. As for the arrangement of this world, it was all up to Lei Wuxing to decide. Recently, he had met with the representatives of 18 planets. It was very difficult to kill powerhouses like Immortal Lu. No one could guarantee that there would not be countless existences comparable to Immortal Lu in the deep world. Therefore, after a discussion, many forces decided to join forces to attack. Due to all kinds of issues that needed to be discussed, the discussion this time lasted for half a month, just as the bloodline ancestor had said. During this half a month, Ziqian had been comprehending his spear technique. After all the discussions were done, Lei Wuxing sent out a signal to gather everyone. Zichun returned to the city. On his way to Lei Wuxing's residence, he encountered many powerhouses along the way. When he arrived at Lei Wuxing's room, there were already more than 20 people gathered there. They were all in the 6-star realm and wore high-quality armor. When they saw Zichun enter, everyone looked at him. As the first existence to conquer a world, Zichun was quite famous here. Moreover, everyone knew that he was almost invincible in this world when he wore the Immortal King armor. Zichun would definitely be a great fighting force in this invasion. Zichun, you came at the right time. These people are all captains and have a team under them. Do you want to arrange a team for you two? After seeing Zichun enter, Lei Wuxing immediately waved at him and said. Zichun walked forward and said, I don't think so. I'm used to being alone. Lei Wuxing said, here's the thing. When we enter the inner world this time, we will first occupy a place as a teleportation camp. Next, we will divide the area by means of command flags. Whoever successfully occupies the area will insert the command flag there. How much area the command flag can activate depends entirely on their strength. Of course, we still need to guard that area. Zichun said, in that case, I'll go with Lei Lan. Also, arrange some people to follow me. Lei Wuxing nodded and was about to hand the command flag to Zichun. Chapter 35:53. Hearing this voice, Zichun immediately turned his head and saw a middle-aged man looking at him indifferently. Lei Wuxing frowned slightly and said, What do you mean? Under everyone's gaze, the middle-aged man stepped forward and said, As everyone knows, the Immortal King armor has extraordinary defense. Once you enter the core area, it will definitely play a great role. Under such circumstances, the Immortal King armor naturally needs to be worn by the strongest person. It's really unwise to give it to a mere 4-star. Many of the other 6-star holy spirits nodded in agreement. There were also some who looked a little hesitant. Lei Wuxing did not respond immediately. After taking in everyone's gaze, The middle-aged man said again, "Of course, I don't mean to belittle Zichun at all. I just think that a 4-star like him is not suitable to wear the immortal king armor. This time, he has made great contributions to our holy Thunder clan. I think he has done enough. It's not necessarily a bad thing for him to stay here. After all, he's only a 4-star. Zichun looked at the middle-aged man who was obviously hostile. The other party not only wanted him to lose the immortal king armor, but also wanted to cut off his path forward. That's right, I also think this is a good idea. After all, Zichun has already made great contributions. There's no need for him to take any more risks. After entering, there will be many dangers. Once he dies inside, all his previous efforts will be wasted. I agree to let Zichun stay. I agree too. Then, 5 or 6 people began to express their opinions. The others' expressions changed, and they were hesitant. Lei Wuxing looked at Zichun and said, "Zichun, what do you think?" Zichun did not hesitate at all and said directly, "I don't know what everyone is thinking, but to me, entering the core area has nothing to do with contributions. I only want to do something for the Holy Thunder Clan and make whatever contributions I can." The middle-aged man said with a smile, "Zichun, we are very touched by your kindness. However, there are many people going in this time. It doesn't matter if we lose one." Zichun said, "I've made up my mind. Even if I die in battle, I'm willing." Hearing this, the middle-aged man laughed again. "Well said. We really admire you. We naturally don't care about your life or death, but you shouldn't have kept the immortal king armor on you, and you shouldn't have prevented the Holy Thunder Clan from creating an invincible expert for your own selfish reasons." Facing the other party's overbearing attitude, Zichun smiled coldly. "Oh, you mean I have to give you the immortal king armor?" The middle-aged man said, "It seems that my approach has caused you to have a big misunderstanding or hostility. Don't worry, I don't want the celestial king armor because I know that my strength is too weak. I feel that the celestial king armor should be given to Lord. Your Excellency is already powerful. Once you have the immortal king armor, you will be invincible." As he spoke, the middle-aged man cupped his fists at Lei Wuxing and said, "My lord, for the sake of the Holy Thunder Clan's future, please don the immortal king armor and lead us to glory again." A smile appeared at the corner of Lei Wuxing's mouth. "My lord, please don the armor. My lord, only when you are strong can we obtain the greatest harvest under your leadership." Those who were anxious to express their stance earlier all spoke up at this moment. Zichun didn't say anything and just looked at these people. Lei Wuxing's gaze swept across the others. These people did not express their stance, so he asked, "What do you all think?" When Lei Wuxing's gaze swept across them, everyone seemed to have understood something. They nodded one after another and then expressed their stance. Obviously, no one objected to Zichun giving the immortal king armor to Lei Wuxing. "I object." At this moment, a cold voice rang out. It was Lei Wuxuang, who had been sitting in the corner. She said calmly, "The armor was obtained by Zichun. What right do you have to give it to whoever you want?" The middle-aged man who spoke first said, "My lord, you have misunderstood. We are not asking for Zichun's immortal king armor. We just feel that at this time, the immortal king armor can only unleash its greatest power in the hands of an expert. Of course, both of you have unparalleled combat strength. Anyone can do it, but only the 4-star Zichun can't, because that would be a waste of God's gift." The others nodded again and expressed their opinions with the most sincere hearts. Naturally, they stood on the side of righteousness and put pressure on Zichun. Lei Wuxing nodded slightly and asked, "What's your name?" When Lei Wuxing directly asked for his name, the 6-star Holy Spirit said excitedly, "My lord, my name is Hu Huanshan, from the Holy Thunder Clan's Hu family." Lei Wuxing smiled and said, "You are very good and insightful. So are you." When the people who spoke first heard this, a hint of joy appeared on their faces. Especially Hu Huanshan, there was even a hint of unconcealable pride on his face. Although the two of them were at the same cultivation level, he knew his own identity. Being able to gain Lei Wuxing's favor was more important than anything else. Next, he should continue to put pressure on Zichun, thinking that he had found a way to please Lei Wuxing. Unexpectedly, Lei Wuxing waved his hand and said, "All right, this is your command flag. I hope you can do something. I will send someone to follow you. Be careful." Under everyone's shocked expression, Lei Wuxing handed the command flag to Zichun. Zichun took the command flag and nodded slightly at Lei Wuxing. "All right, everyone go back and prepare. Wait for my orders." Lei Wuxing waved his hand, indicating for the crowd to disperse. Hu Huanshan and the others looked at each other in dismay. How could this be? The others who spoke first were also dumbfounded. Zichun was the first to leave. When he reached the door, there was a faint smile at the corner of his mouth. Through this scene, he at least knew who was targeting him, or deliberately trying to curry favor with Lei Wuxing. Lei Wuxing seemed kind and easy to talk to, but in reality, every step he took was extremely profound. Zichun had a good impression of him, so there was no need to describe him as shrewd. It could only be said that he had extraordinary wisdom and planning. His personality was completely different from Lei Wuxuang's, but the brother and sister clearly complemented each other. No wonder they came out together. The next step was to wait patiently. During this time, Lei Lan had already heard the news and returned. The reason Zichun had brought her along was naturally to use Lei Lan's perception to increase the harvest of this expedition. Lei Lan came to Zichun's side and said straightforwardly, "The bloodline ancestor looked for me. I only asked for 2 shares." Zichun was stunned when he heard this. Then, he thought of the crux of the problem and showed a stunned expression. "Why?" Lei Lan said with a smile, "You can give up many shares for the Holy Thunder Clan. Why can't I give up 3 shares? Seeing the determination in Lei Lan's eyes, Zichun could only nod. He was willing to give up for the Holy Thunder Clan. Lei Lan naturally had the right to do so. "However, I am not as generous as you. I gave the 3 shares to you, not the clan." Chapter 3554. Zichun looked at Lei Lan and realized that he could not see through her. 3 portions of resources was a huge amount. How could she just give it away like that? "Although I also want to repay the Holy Thunder Clan, you've done enough for the Holy Thunder Clan this time, so I'll give you the 3 portions. I think you need these resources more than the Holy Thunder Clan." Lei Lan sat next to Zichun and looked into the distance. Through this incident, we all know that it's hard to do things alone. However, I don't know how to develop my force at all. You're different. You have a world and many trustworthy friends. Therefore, you have the opportunity to develop your force. Zichun sat there and fell silent. This was his only shortcoming at the moment. However, developing a force in the huge Saint Spirit realm was easier said than done. "Just treat it as my investment. I hope that if I'm in danger one day, your force or your intelligence organization can save my life." Lei Lan stood up and patted the dust off her body. She said, "Let's go. Remember to be prepared. Our opponents this time are far more than those who call themselves immortals." Zichun understood what Lei Lan meant. Where the flag was placed, there would naturally be friction or battle with other forces. 2 days later, the experts gathered outside the teleportation formation. This was the first time Zichun saw so many 6-star holy spirits. They came from various clans of the Holy Thunder Clan. It could be said that the Holy Thunder Clan had really sent a large number of experts for this opportunity. Powerful auras surged, causing the space here to distort. The weakest among them was a 5-star. Their goal this time was not to kill the enemy, but to occupy. 6-star holy spirits were the main force. One had to know that a 5-star holy spirit was the ruler of a force. However, in this place, they were not even considered cannon fodder. As for the other low-level existences, most of them were reduced to miners, mining for the opportunities here. Lei Wuxing and Lei Wuxuang stood at the front. Behind them were dozens of captains. Among these people, Zichun was the most eye-catching. Other than the golden armor, there was also his cultivation level. In a situation where all 5 stars were cannon fodder, he, a 4-star, was a captain-level existence. Naturally, this would attract the attention of countless people. Lei Lan stood behind Zichun. She was also a 4-star, and she attracted a portion of the attention for Zichun. Behind Lei Lan was the team that Lei Wuxing had arranged for him. There were close to 300 of them. Among them, there were close to 100 6-star saint spirits, while the rest were 5-star saint spirits. These nearly 106-star saint spirits were divided into teams of 10, each with their own 5-star saint spirits. It could be said that behind each captain, there were 10 small teams and 10 command flags, which represented that each person could control 10 regions. The teleportation formation in front of them lit up. At the same time, a strange vibration flew across the sky and into the space. This was the signal sent out by the various factions. Lei Wuxing said, "Everyone, it's time to go." Without too many words of encouragement, as the publicly acknowledged strongest person this time, he took the lead and stepped into the teleportation array. Lei Wuxuang followed closely behind him and disappeared. Immediately afterward, the other captains led their respective teams and walked into the huge teleportation array. The same scene was playing out on the other 17 planets. Zichun did not go in immediately. Wearing the Immortal King armor, he looked back at his temporary subordinates and said, "Although we did not know each other before, as long as we step into this place, our goal is the same, and our interests will be linked. For the Holy Thunder Clan and for our own interests, I hope that everyone can do their best. We will follow your orders, my lord." These saint spirits, whose cultivation level was higher than Zichun, said in unison. After coming here, they had heard too many things about Zichun. Although Zichun was only a 4-star, he had killed many 6-stars. Even the Holy Star Clan, which was also one of the 4 great sacred clans, had a powerful 6 stars killed by Zichun. And this time, when they heard that the leader was Zichun, and that Zichun was still wearing the Immortal King armor, many people were looking forward to this trip. Because this trip to the depths would be full of dangers, and death was inevitable, the Holy Thunder Clan also gave them great benefits. For example, after discovering resources, they could distribute them according to a certain proportion. It was like the share that Zichen got in this world, but they did not get as much. But it should be known that the world inside was bigger. Once a high-quality mineral vein was found, even if the share was divided into hundreds or thousands of pieces, getting one of them would still be an extremely huge number. Therefore, at this moment, everyone's hearts were connected. In other words, everyone's interests were connected. Zichun turned around and entered the teleportation formation. In a flash of light, the people he brought all crossed over to another planet that was forcibly broken open. When they arrived here, the expected battle did not break out, and there were no screams. The world was silent. Even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. Zichen stood in the air and looked ahead. Lei Lan stood beside him. Behind the two of them was his team. Only a few miles away, there were other teams. Everyone stood there in silence. At the end of their vision, there was nothing. He released his spiritual senses and found that there was nothing in this world. It was like a flat world. Even the basic mountains and rivers did not appear. Everyone was stunned. There were many resources on the 18 planets in the periphery, but why was there nothing in the depths? Where was everyone? At least there should be someone, right? As far as the eye could see, it was empty. Just as everyone was stunned, a ray of light appeared in front of them. The ray of light suddenly appeared and turned into a person. It was a tall, middle-aged man, wearing a snow-white robe, standing with his hands behind his back. The tens of thousands of holy spirits who came to this world were all looking at him at this moment. The middle-aged man smiled and said, "You're finally here. The owner of the 18 Immortal King armors can come to the Immortal City to receive the reward you deserve." Everyone looked at each other. Where was the Immortal City? I know why you're here. If you want to reach the place where the final reward is, you have to wear the Immortal armors. But only the 18 Immortal King armors can open the final reward. The holy spirits looked at each other, obviously not understanding what the middle-aged man said. "I'll wait for you in the Immortal City. Enjoy yourselves." With that, the middle-aged man disappeared into thin air. The surrounding space suddenly began to distort, as if the door to another world had opened. Countless rays of light surged out from it. All the rays of light instantly transformed into strange beasts, or immortal beasts. There were countless of them. Moreover, every immortal beast had a powerful aura, even more powerful than the ones in the periphery. As soon as these immortal beasts appeared, they attacked the holy spirits. Battle cries rang out in an instant. At the same time, the surrounding area also changed. Some places became towering mountains, some became sunken lands, some mountain ranges, rivers, lakes, and all kinds of dangerous places. It could be said that this was the true appearance of this place. Kill. Under the leadership of the captains, the holy spirits of the various factions charged at the immortal beasts. Chapter 35-55. The immortal beasts that had suddenly appeared were weaker than the holy spirits. However, there were so many of them that they could be said to be endless. As soon as the battle began, they had the absolute upper hand. Countless immortal beasts appeared around Zichun at the same time. Facing these immortal beasts, he shouted, "Form a defense formation in small groups. We must ensure everyone's safety." At this moment, Zichun was holding a divine spear and wearing a golden armor. The immortal beasts below him roared loudly. They were extremely eye-catching. The holy spirits behind him quickly began to form a defense formation. However, the immortal beasts had appeared so suddenly that the holy spirits did not have time to react. These immortal beasts had appeared all around them. Moreover, they were very powerful. They had caught the holy spirits off guard. The group behind Zichun quickly became chaotic. Noticing this, Zichen's holy talismans immediately flew out. They were all 4-star holy talismans and were heavenly saint arms. After they appeared, they flew toward the chaotic battlefield according to Zichen's instructions. Pa, pa, pa. The holy talismans shattered one after another. Then, they transformed into giant arms and swept forward. Although the heavenly saint arms were 4-star holy talisman masters, Fulao had clearly said that they were no weaker than 5-star holy talisman masters. Moreover, with the support of Zichen's unique soul, the heavenly saint arms' power had become even stronger. Bang, bang, bang. The immortal beasts were directly sent flying. Their defense was amazing. Zichen's attacks did not hurt them, but they were able to send them flying. This bought some time for the holy spirits. In a short period of time, Zichen threw out nearly 50 heavenly saint arms. Only then did they resolve the crisis in the group. The 10 groups had all gathered and formed an effective defense. Then, they began to counterattack. Immortal beasts died one after another. Then, their bodies disappeared into thin air and turned into immortal stones of different sizes. The moment they saw those immortal stones, everyone's eyes lit up. At this moment, Zichen's voice rang out. "Fight with all your strength. As long as we are alive, we have plenty of resources." Lei Lan had been standing beside Zichen. She looked very nervous. In this place, she, who was only a 4-star cultivator, could not do anything to these immortal beasts. Zichen observed his surroundings as another holy talisman flew out in front of him. This time, it was a ghost spirit. The 3 sheets formed an array. 30 of them flew toward the nearby immortal beasts. The holy talisman shattered and turned into 3 little ghosts, which then entered the immortal beast's mind. In the next moment, the immortal beast began to roll over. Black light would occasionally shoot out from its head, and in just a moment, it was no longer breathing. Then, its body disappeared, leaving behind an immortal stone the size of a human head. This was the largest immortal stone in the core region so far. A palm-sized ball of soul light entered Zichen's sea of knowledge and strengthened his soul. The cries of the immortal beasts continued to echo in the air. After consuming 30 saint talismans, Zichen successfully killed 10 immortal beasts, leaving behind 10 head-sized immortal stones where they had died. Behind them, many saint spirits were shocked when they saw this scene. Many of them had heard of Zichen killing immortal beasts, but none of them had seen it with their own eyes. Now, it was an eye-opener for them. The next 51 ghost spirit holy talismans flew out in groups of 3 and flew toward the 17 immortal beasts. Without any accidents, the 17 immortal beasts died. These immortal beasts were much more powerful than those outside, but Zichen's ghost spirit holy talismans were also much more powerful. Facing the siege of all the immortal beasts, the power and drawbacks of the ghost spirit holy talismans were on full display. It was so powerful that it could kill an immortal beast with a 100% success rate and maximize its power. The drawback was that the number was limited. There were only 81 sheets at a time, and he had to redraw them after using them up. If he could use them endlessly, then in theory, Zichun could kill all the immortal beasts in an instant. After killing 27 immortal beasts, there were still other immortal beasts around. They all rushed towards Zichun, not giving him any time to redraw the talismans. Therefore, Zichun held the battle spear in his hand and charged forward. He began to mobilize the power around him. With the help of the immortal beast, he instantly arrived beside an immortal beast and stabbed forward with the battle spear in his hand. Poof! The immortal beast's head was pierced. It let out a scream and died. The dead immortal beast's body began to decompose into countless light spots and then left behind an immortal stone. The size of this immortal stone was smaller than before, but it was still bigger than the others, perhaps because it was a one-hit kill. Lei Lan had been following behind Zichun and was responsible for picking up the immortal stones. At the moment, her perception was not of any use, because they did not even have a place to stand. Everyone was fighting bitterly, and it was even more impossible to plant a command flag. Poof, poof, poof. Zichun's figure was like lightning, wandering among the immortal beasts and constantly stabbing. As the long spear passed, immortal beasts were killed one after another. Lei Lan followed behind, constantly picking up the spoils of war left behind by Zichun along the way. The saint spirits who were paying attention to the battle were all astonished by the terrifying destructive power of the attack. Wearing the immortal king armor and holding a battle spear, Zichun's lethality was indeed very terrifying, but now he was also exhausted. Looking at the endless number of immortal beasts, he suddenly put away his battle spear and retreated. Lei Lan, come here. At the same time, he called Lei Lan back. If not for his protection, Lei Lan would probably be torn apart by the endless immortal beasts here in an instant. Lei Lan retreated to Zichun's side, and saw that Zichun immediately took out 9 defensive saint talismans and formed the 9 extreme defensive array. Stay inside and don't come out, Zichun said, and then began to form the seal. When he was forming the seal, he closed his eyes and a strange soul power spread out. Under such circumstances, Zichun's vision became clearer when he looked around. Vaguely, he seemed to have entered a strange state. As the seal fell, the sky suddenly lit up and lightning fell. The first lightning, which was close at hand, fell outside the defense and hit an immortal beast. The immortal beast's body was shining, and the light came from inside out as if it was a lightning beast. In the next moment, its vitality was extinguished and it died. An immortal stone the size of a human head floated in the air. Zichun still had his eyes closed. The second lightning fell from the sky and landed behind him. There was an immortal beast there that wanted to attack from behind. The lightning fell, but there was no earth-shattering sound, not even a terrifying fluctuation. It only caused a ripple. The second immortal beast died and turned into an immortal stone the size of a human head. Zichun used the lightning controlling technique to kill 2 immortal beasts consecutively, but he didn't use any energy. At this moment, a few more immortal beasts quickly pounced on Zichun. The sky lit up again. Chapter 3556. Ever since Zichun obtained the lightning controlling technique, he would use this technique to kill his enemies. This was also his most powerful trump card. However, when he obtained the Holy Lightning Bone Refining Technique, the existence he met told him that he could try to use the lightning controlling technique to kill his enemies. Zichun did not understand at that time, but he did as he was told. Whenever he had the chance, he would use the lightning controlling technique to kill some low-level existences. All this time, the lightning controlling technique had not changed at all. Until last time, when he used the lightning controlling technique to kill several 5-star holy spirits in succession. At that time, the lightning controlling technique showed its power for the first time. Within the range of his spiritual senses, as long as he locked onto a person, a bolt of lightning would definitely fall from the sky. This time, facing many immortal beasts, Zichun used the lightning controlling technique again. Then, the lightning controlling technique showed a second change, and that was the number. There was no longer just one bolt of lightning that fell. A total of 5 bolts of lightning fell from the sky and landed around Zichun, hitting 5 immortal beasts respectively. These 5 immortal beasts were glowing all over as they floated in midair. Then, their vitality was extinguished, and they turned into crystals the size of a human head. The number of immortal beasts killed by the lightning controlling technique was actually the same as the Holy Spirit talisman. During this time, Zichen still had his eyes closed, and he was only controlling the lightning through his perception. After the 5 bolts of lightning, another 3 bolts fell, and the 3 immortal beasts nearby died. After the 3, there were 5 more. Lei Lan stood beside Zichen, looking at the scene outside the defensive talisman formation in shock. One after another, immortal beasts were struck by lightning and died. Not a single one was spared. However, in her perception, the power of these lightning bolts was not strong. There was not even a strong fluctuation, but they could easily kill these immortal beasts. In the sky, lightning flashed continuously. Around Zichen, immortal stones were floating one after another. They were all the size of a human head and emitted a strange light. Around them, many holy spirits from other teams were also looking sideways. After seeing so many high-quality immortal stones, they were all shocked. Of course, there were also many people who had greed in their eyes. Unfortunately, no one could step forward at this time, because there were many immortal beasts around everyone. Among them, a large portion of them were fighting for themselves. There were people like Zichen, who reacted extremely quickly and immediately ordered the team behind them to form a defensive line, but not many. By the time they realized that something was wrong and joined forces to defend, their losses were already not small. Big Brother Hongtian, look over there. On the battlefield, Xiao Wu obtained a fist-sized immortal stone after killing one of the immortal beasts. He put away the immortal stone and turned his head to look into the distance. He saw the light that was constantly descending from the sky. What kind of lightning skill is that? How could he be so powerful? After fighting for so long, his aura hasn't been depleted at all? Xiao Wu was moved. At this time, they were a team of 7, and behind them was a group of people. These people were reinforcements from the Lei Zheng family. Since the bloodline ancestor had forbade the Lei Zheng family from interfering in this matter, Lei Zheng Hongtian took these people and landed on another planet. At this time, looking at the many high-quality immortal stones floating around Zichen, his face was very gloomy, and there was an unconcealable killing intent in his eyes. If it weren't for this damned guy, how could he have fallen into such a situation? At present, he was slightly struggling to deal with these immortal beasts, but Zichen was so relaxed. This was too strange. Lei Zheng Hongtian looked back at Xiao Wu and said, "Send a message to Hu Huanshan. We can't let that guy have it too easy." Xiao Wu nodded and then retreated. On the chaotic battlefield, there were countless immortal beasts. Only the place where Zichen was standing was empty. Dozens of immortal stones the size of a human head were floating around him. They were like light balls, bright and dazzling, illuminating the surroundings. Zichen still had his eyes closed. The talisman array formed by the holy talisman had not been attacked so far. Behind him, the holy spirits in the team looked at Zichen in shock. This battle prowess was really too strong. At this time, Zichen had entered a mysterious state. In this state, he felt invincible, as if he could control everything. Vaguely, he seemed to understand the true essence of the lightning controlling art. However, there seemed to be a layer of mist blocking him, making him unable to see the truth. Those immortal beasts no longer approached. Zichen's soul automatically extended and locked on to the target again. Thunder rumbled and lightning bolts fell. The sound was not loud, and the power did not feel strong. However, with each lightning bolt, an immortal beast died. At this moment, everyone who noticed this scene was very shocked. The lightning bolts were still extending. Zichen's thoughts changed a little. It seemed that he could vaguely see the true essence of the lightning controlling art. At this time, there was an arrogant soul aura in the range of his spiritual sense. He quickly rushed in, grabbed a head-sized immortal stone, and said coldly, "Zichen, you've crossed the line." His voice was very loud, like the thunder from the 9 heavens. It was very loud and clear. Waves of sound waves spread. Zichen withdrew his spiritual sense and opened his eyes. There was a look of confusion in his eyes, as if he was a little absent-minded. At this moment, there was more regret in his expression. Zichun did not know where this regret came from. The confusion in his eyes gradually disappeared, and his thoughts returned. The scene that had just happened flashed through his mind quickly. He knew the reason for his regret. Turning his head, Zichun's eyes flashed with a cold light, and countless murderous intents surged around him. At such a close distance, Lei Lan felt the murderous intent, and his body could not help but tremble. Zichun, you've crossed the line. This is my territory. The one who spoke was Hu Huanshan. At this moment, there was a flag in front of him. Countless lightning bolts were released from the flag, covering an area of 10,000 feet. At this moment, the flag was still slowly expanding, extending towards this side. Within the range of the flag, Hu Huanshan was very pleased with himself as he collected the immortal stones that Zichun had dropped. Damn it, that's clearly our spoils of war, Lei Lan said angrily when he saw this scene. Zichun removed the talisman array above his head and then waved his sleeve. The floating immortal stones all around flew towards him. Zichun glanced at Hu Huanshan indifferently. The other party looked at Zichun provocatively as if to say, "What can you do to me? Let's go." After collecting everything, Zichun motioned for Lei Lan to follow. At the same time, he also ordered the team behind him to retreat. Obviously, this place had been occupied by Hu Huanshan. In order to target him, the other party was willing to waste a flag. Zichun, quickly come and help me take down the camp. Your team will be credited with a great merit. Chapter 35-57. As the leader, Lei Wuxing's first priority was to ensure a safe and secure base. Only with a base would the Holy Spirits have a way out. Therefore, he and Lei Wuxuang had been looking for a suitable place to set up camp from the start. Just as the two of them found a suitable campsite, not only were there many immortal beasts around, there were even immortals. There were 3 of them. All 3 were clad in armor and wielding weapons. Manipulating energy that was distinctly different from that of the Ling clan, they launched an attack. In the blink of an eye, several 6-star holy spirits were gravely injured. Many of them were core disciples. If not for Lei Wuxing and Lei Wuxuang's timely rescue, this team of 6-star holy spirits might have been wiped out in an instant. 2 against 3 wasn't much of a problem, but the enemy's armor had an extremely strong defense. The 2 of them couldn't break through it in a short time. Therefore, Lei Wuxing ordered Zichun to come over. It was naturally easier for them to fight 3 against 3. Coincidentally, there was also a small incident on Zichun's side. What's the meaning of this? Lei Wuxuang, who'd also noticed the commotion, asked coldly after sending an immortal flying with a punch. They seem to be messing around, but everything is within the bounds of the rules. In the midst of battle, Lei Wuxing said coolly, "Even you and I aren't in a position to criticize each other. After all, that place belongs to us now." Lei Wuxuang was exasperated. That rundown place that no one occupies? These people are a disgrace to the Holy Thunder clan. Lei Wuxing didn't say anything, but there was a hint of coldness beneath his impassive expression. Clearly, he'd been angered by Hu Huanshan's actions. But as the leader, he could only suppress his anger as long as the other party didn't break the rules. Zichun had arrived. The moment he'd heard the summons, he'd flown in their direction. This time, Lei Lan didn't follow him, but was guarded by a group of experts behind him. They stared at Zichun's back, and their expressions were all very excited. This was because Lei Wuxing had mentioned the word contribution earlier. As long as they successfully took down the camp, their team would be able to obtain the first reward. The credit wasn't Zichun's alone, but the entire team's. How could they not be excited? The temporary leader said excitedly, "Everyone, advance slowly. Be careful and try to keep up with the leader's pace." At this point, Zichun had already reached the front and was about to meet the 3 immortals. Everyone was extremely excited. Based on the battle prowess Zichun had displayed, they were almost certain to obtain the first prize. However, Zichun, who had everyone's expectations, did not display his terrifying battle prowess and annihilate the enemy as everyone had expected. When he was still 1,000 feet away from the battlefield, he suddenly stopped and took out a blank holy talisman amidst the aftermath of the battle. There was also that holy pin called Unfathomable. What the hell? After seeing Zichen's action, everyone was stunned. Those who had been excited for Zichen were now dumbfounded. Why didn't the leader display his powerful means to kill the enemy? Was this the time to draw talismans? Zichen, who was wearing the Immortal King armor, was already the center of attention. His actions were also seen by many people. What a bunch of tricks. Lei Hongtian sneered and said, "Tell Hu Huanshan that he did well. When we return, the Lei Jing family and the Hu family will naturally have business dealings. Also, he should continue to work hard. I will compensate him for the losses he suffered this time." On the other side, Hu Huanshan's face lit up when he heard the news. Being able to get closer to the Lei Jing family was extremely important for the Hu family's future development. Compared to the future, losing some opportunities here was nothing. He turned around and said to the team behind him, "Everyone, hurry up and advance." The group of holy spirits behind them were stunned when they heard this. Advance? What should we do, my lord? It was obvious that Hu Huanshan had wasted a command flag. According to the original plan, they should take down this place and guard it. We'll talk about it later. There's still a great opportunity waiting for us. After saying that, Hu Huanshan took the lead and rushed forward. Zichen, what are you doing? Lei Wushuang, who was in the middle of a battle, turned around to look at Zichen after defeating the enemy. Zichen said indifferently, "I'm drawing talismans. Didn't you see?" At this moment, a defensive barrier appeared above Zichen's head. He stood in the middle of the barrier and drew talismans on the holy talisman paper. The unfathomable holy talisman brush could greatly increase the success rate of drawing talismans. It was truly unpredictable. In addition to Zichen's unique soul and the ghost spirit holy talisman, Zichen was very relaxed. "You did it on purpose, didn't you?" Lei Wushuang said unhappily. "As a holy talisman master, why didn't you prepare a battle holy talisman before coming here?" Zichen said indifferently, "You wouldn't understand even if I told you." Impudent thief. Lei Wushuang was enraged. She sent 2 enemies flying with 2 punches and was about to find trouble with Zichen. Unfortunately, her opponents quickly caught up. This damn tortoiseshell. Lei Wushuang couldn't help but curse, but her eyes were fixed on Zichen. It was unknown if she was indirectly insulting him, or it could be a pun. Of course, Zichen wouldn't compete with her. If he wanted to win in a short time, he could only use the Ghost Spirit Divine Talisman. In the previous battle, he had used up all his Ghost Spirit Divine Talismans, so he needed to draw new ones. In contrast to Lei Wushuang's anger, Lei Wuxing's expression was much calmer. He looked at his opponent in front of him and said, "These defensive armors are really difficult to deal with. It should be good to wear one. Ant, how dare you covet my immortal armor? Die." His opponent's eyes flashed coldly as he slashed forward with the long saber in his hand. Chi. The saber light broke through the air with a powerful force. Lei Wuxing clenched his fist and punched out. Countless thunderbolts circled around his fist. The saber light exploded, and Lei Wuxing's figure retreated continuously. A strange expression appeared on his face. Immortal saber slash. His opponent shouted again. Another saber light flashed between heaven and earth. This time, its power was even more terrifying. Lei Wuxing's expression was much more serious. "You have to hurry up. I think you'll be in big trouble if you delay any longer." Lei Wuxing suddenly spoke. Naturally, he was talking to Zichen. Boom. At the same time, he unleashed his full power and activated his strongest combat power. At this time, the sacred talisman array around Zichen disappeared. With 81 Ghost Spirit Divine Talismans floating in front of him, he said with a smile, "Give me one." Here. In a flash, Lei Wushuang appeared before an immortal race being. With a single punch, the immortal race being was sent flying towards Zichen. Chapter 3558. When Zichen saw his opponent flying back, the 81 Ghost Spirit Sacred Talismans in front of him immediately flew towards him. The 81 holy talismans were about to envelop his head. Who knew that at this moment, a bolt of lightning suddenly flew from behind, heading straight for Zichen's ghost spirit Saint Talisman. "Sir, I'm here to help you." It was Hu Huanshan. Although he came in the name of helping, the moment he attacked, he went straight for Zichen's ghost spirit sacred talismans. A saber light appeared between heaven and earth, leaving a clear mark in the air. It was about to tear apart the 81 holy talismans that Zichen had just completed. Facing such a situation, Zichen's expression didn't change. With a thought, the holy talisman shattered and 81 ghost spirits appeared, forming a holy talisman array and dancing in the air. The saber light approached and slashed at the ghost spirit array. "Oh no, I didn't see it. I thought Zichen hadn't made a move yet. I'm so sorry." Just as the saber light was about to land, Hu Huanshan's apologetic voice rang out. "It's okay. You can go back now," Zichen said indifferently, not pointing out his opponent's true intentions. When the saber light arrived, it directly pierced through the ghost spirit array and flew into the distance. The ghost spirit array wasn't damaged at all. It kept shrinking and headed towards the opponent's sea of consciousness. Because it was the second time he was controlling it, and the opponent was obviously not as strong as he was during the Immortal War, the ghost spirit array shrank very quickly. During this time, the opponent was rapidly dodging, trying to get rid of the ghost spirit array above his head. However, the ghost spirit array followed him like a shadow and couldn't be shaken off. "Get lost." The immortal roared and slashed at the sky with his immortal sword. He attacked again and again, but he couldn't hurt the ghost spirit array at all. Hu Huanshan stood in the distance. His expression turned ugly when he couldn't destroy Zichen's talisman array. However, he quickly revealed a smile and said, "Brother Zichen is really powerful. This holy talisman array can actually ignore defense. It seems like it's a soul attack." Zichen's eyes turned cold. The opponent directly pointed out the weakness of the ghost spirit array. His intentions were obvious. The Celestials naturally understood the meaning behind his words and prepared to use soul attacks. Lei Wushuang's eyes were filled with cold-killing intent. He was prepared to teach Hu Huanshan a lesson. Lei Wusheng slowly shook his head, stopping his little sister's actions. "Why? As the leader, can't you tell that he has ulterior motives?" Lei Wushuang asked through voice transmission. Clearly, he knew the severity of the matter and did not question loudly. "Don't interfere in this matter," Lei Wusheng said, as a core member of the Extreme. "You must take the interests of the Holy Thunder Clan as your responsibility. You must not participate in the conflicts of other clans." "But he's causing trouble. It's obvious that he's affecting the interests of the Holy Thunder Clan." Unparalleled Thunder transmitted his voice, unconvinced. "The main cause of this matter is still the family conflict. Even if there is a conviction, it should be after the war, not now." Lei Wusheng transmitted his voice. "Besides, it's just a reminder. With Zichen's strength, he shouldn't be helpless." Just as the two of them were transmitting their voices, Zichen rode on the immortal beast and flew forward, arriving in front of the Celestial. He jumped down from the immortal beast's back. The immortal beast turned into a ray of light and disappeared. He punched forward. Dazzling lightning light was released from his fist, and a powerful aura surged. The Celestial naturally recognized the Immortal King armor. He said coldly, "You came at the right time. It's time for this Celestial to change my armor." As soon as he finished speaking, the fist light arrived. There was a loud boom. The Celestial's body flew backward. Zichen, who was wearing the Immortal King armor, was no longer as strong as before. The Celestial found it difficult to block, let alone take the initiative to attack. After one punch, another punch. Booms sounded continuously, and the Celestial was constantly pushed back. Above his head, 81 ghostly spirits followed him like shadows. They were still shrinking. After 8 punches in a row, the ghost spirits disappeared into the Celestial's sea of consciousness. The Celestial felt a strong threat of death. The aura around him became violent. He wanted to kill Zichen forcibly before his soul was destroyed. Zichen punched again. Boom. The Celestial was defeated and flew backward, coughing up blood. In the next moment, his soul was destroyed. This was the first time Lei Wusheng and Lei Wushuang saw Zichen destroy an enemy with their own eyes. They didn't expect him to be so fast. One had to know that the two of them had not broken through the defense of the immortal armor until now. The Celestial died. This time, he didn't leave behind an immortal stone, but a complete immortal armor. Although the grade of this armor was not as good as the immortal king armor on Zichun, it was still extremely extraordinary. Zichun went forward and put it away. He turned to Lei Wuxing and asked, "Do you need help?" "No need. We can still deal with one person." Before Lei Wuxing could reply, Lei Wuxuang said unhappily. Her eyebrows were furrowed, and her pretty face showed anger. She reached out and pointed at her forehead. A surge of soul energy surged out, bringing with it a bolt of lightning. With the appearance of this bolt of lightning, there was an indescribable feeling in the air, as if someone had sighed. This was the Thunder Soul Sigh, a soul technique that Lei Wuxuang had mastered. When Lei Wuxing saw this, he shook his head. His little sister's competitive nature had not changed. However, it was indeed time for him to use his full strength. A saber flew out from his forehead. It was only half a saber, but it emitted an ancient aura as it flew forward. This was the saint's spiritual weapon that he had obtained after a narrow escape. Unlike those offensive weapons, this was a pure soul weapon that only destroyed souls. It was powerful, but the only downside was that it consumed too much of his soul. Every time he used it, he would be weakened for a period of time. Now that Zichun had dealt with his opponent and had nothing to worry about, he could use it without any worries. Zichun had just kept the immortal armor when the siblings each displayed their strongest moves. The next two immortals were killed in an instant. Zichun was a little stunned. Lei Wuxuang, who was clearly weakened, glared at Zichun and said, "Humph, you really think we can't deal with our opponents?" She took the immortal armor and started refining it on the spot. The broken soul weapon flew back to Lei Wuxing's side and disappeared. Lei Wuxing, who was even weaker than his sister, nodded at Zichun and started refining the immortal armor as well. Due to the terrifying shockwaves from the previous battle, no immortal beast could get close. Looking at the weakened duo, Zichun said, "This mission is considered completed, right?" "You've done well," Lei Wuxing said. Zichun nodded and said, "In that case, I'll go deeper. Be careful." Lei Wuxing reminded, "You too. Immortal stones can replenish energy. It's not good to be weak here." With that, Zichun left behind two head-sized immortal stones that he had obtained earlier. Chapter 3559. Zichun left two pieces of high-quality immortal stones, one for each of them. Lei Wuxing did not refuse this kindness and gave one to Lei Wuxuang. The other party snorted coldly, as if he was dissatisfied that Zichun had taken all the limelight. "Hurry up and refine it. If we consume too much energy, it will be detrimental to the whole tribe." Lei Wuxing ordered, "In this place, we can't consume too much energy." Lei Wuxuang was even more dissatisfied because Zichun had left as if nothing had happened after killing the enemy, while their two powerful leaders had consumed a lot of energy and still needed to recover. It seemed that Zichun was more powerful than the two of them. "Don't think too much. His Saint Talisman is very unique, and he is also a Saint Talisman master. Naturally, he has an advantage over us." Lei Wuxing knew what his little sister was thinking and smiled faintly as he comforted her. Zichun handed the immortal armor to Lei Lan. With the immortal armor, regardless of whether Lei Lan could kill the enemy or not, she would be able to defend herself. Even if there was danger, Lei Lan would be able to withstand it. Moreover, whether they would be able to make a great contribution depended on how sharp Lei Lan's senses were. At this time, the other factions were also flying forward. Up until now, other than the camps that they had set up, no one had put down the flag. Hu Huanshan was the first to waste it. His failure to stop Zichun made Hu Huanshan's face a little gloomy. Therefore, after Zichun went deeper, he led the team and followed. "That guy who ruined everything is still behind us," Lei Lan said in a low voice. Zichun had already noticed Hu Huanshan, but it was not the time to fight him, so he did not pay attention to him. However, he knew very well what the other party was planning, and the corner of his mouth could not help but curl into a cold smile. "Since you are courting death, don't blame me for being impolite." Zichun's eyes flashed coldly. Zichun walked at the front of the team, fighting fiercely with the immortal beasts that appeared from time to time. As they went deeper, the number of immortal beasts decreased significantly. Following behind him, Lei Lan released her spiritual senses and used her special perception to sense the places where there might be something strange. During this time, they never set down the command flag. At the same time, Hu Huanshan, who had been following behind with his team, never dropped the command flag. After advancing for nearly 10,000 li, Lei Lan suddenly stopped. She looked at Zichun and said, "I think this place is not bad." Zichun nodded and a flag appeared in his hand. Who knew that at this moment, a loud and clear voice came from behind. "Haha, this is a good place. We'll drop the flag here." It was Hu Huanshan. He decisively put down the flag. Then, the flag began to emit light. Lightning surged out like a protective barrier. In the blink of an eye, it spread to 100 miles away and enveloped Zichun's location. "Haha, Zichun. I'm sorry, but this place caught my eye first." Hu Huanshan's laughter rang out again. In Zichun's team, many people turned around and stared coldly at Hu Huanshan. This guy was obviously doing it on purpose. Zichun glanced at him indifferently and said, "Let's go." Everyone continued to move forward. Hu Huanshan's flag covered an area of 200 li. After moving forward for another few hundred li, Lei Lan pointed at the ground and said, "There might be resources here that aren't any weaker than before." "Are you sure?" Zichun asked. "Of course." Lei Lan nodded. This time, before Zichun took out the flag, Hu Huanshan's laughter rang out again from behind. A new flag fell on the ground, and the light spread in this direction. Lei Lan turned around and glared at Hu Huanshan. "Hu Huanshan, you've gone too far." Hu Huanshan's smile did not fade. "Gone too far? Why don't I think so? I'm contributing to the Holy Thunder Clan. Who told you not to come to a conclusion earlier?" Zichun said coldly, once, twice. "I don't want a third time. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." Hu Huanshan patted his chest and said, "Aya, I'm so scared." "What? You still dare to attack me?" "Zichun, it's not that I want to criticize you, but in terms of contributions to the Holy Thunder Clan, you're far inferior to me this time. Didn't you just help my lord build the camp? I'm the one who occupied 3 resource lands for the Holy Thunder Clan. You're courting death." Zichun's eyes were filled with murderous intent. The faces of the holy spirits who followed Zichun were incomparably ashen. Lei Lan pulled the furious Zichun and said, "Let's go. There must be other resource lands in the depths." Zichun's anger was still difficult to quell, but it was obviously impossible to kill the other party just like that. He snorted coldly and said indifferently, "Very good. But can you guarantee that there's really good stuff in there?" After saying that, Zichun smiled coldly and turned to leave. The complacent look on Hu Huanshan's face froze. Of course, he didn't know how to perceive, nor did he know whether these places were good or bad. Everything was because he heard the message. But soon, a smile appeared on his face. Because in the message that just came, Zichun was cursing, and his face was very ugly. The holy spirits in his troop were all dejected, who didn't know that the reason why Zichun chose the smallest planet was not because the guardian there was weak, but because there were more resources in that world. And so many resources were all thanks to Lei Lan. While moving forward, Lei Lan looked at Zichun and said helplessly, "They're following us. What should we do?" The anger on Zichun's face didn't dissipate for a long time. He said coldly, "Let's speed up and go deeper. Leave them far behind. This stinking bug is really despicable." The team naturally sped up, but Hu Huanshan also sped up and followed behind. "Change direction," Zichun said. The team began to change direction, and the other party also changed direction. This repeated several times, and Hu Huanshan was like a tail, following behind them. During this time, Zichun had 2 opportunities to plant the flag, but Hu Huanshan beat him to it. This made Zichun so angry that he gritted his teeth. "Haha, what a coincidence. I found another good place." Hu Huanshan laughed loudly and used the 6th flag. The flag lit up and instantly covered an area of hundreds of miles. 6 flags meant that they occupied 6 areas. How could Hu Huanshan not be happy? Zichun, we're really fated. Hu Huanshan was really proud because these places were chosen by Lei Lan. Even if they were half real and half fake, His harvest this time was big enough. Zichun, who was originally angry, turned to look at Hu Huanshan. This time, he wasn't angry. Instead, he smiled faintly and said, "Indeed, we're fated." As Zichun's voice fell, a 5-star holy spirit, who seemed to have fallen behind because Zichun was in a hurry, took out a flag and planted it on the ground. Buzz. Chapter 3560. Looking at the smile on Zichen's face, Hu Huanshan couldn't smile anymore. He had a bad feeling in his heart. At that moment, his soul sensed what was happening 1,000 miles away. A 5-star holy spirit had inserted a command flag into the ground. The command flag began to glow, enveloping the entire area. Sensing this, Hu Huanshan sneered and said, "It seems like you're not that stupid. You've already prepared for this. Why? Is that the good location you've set your eyes on? Haha, but it just so happens that I have a command flag here." Hu Huanshan turned around and was about to rush in that direction. He was only 1,000 miles away from that place. For a 6-star holy spirit, this distance was nothing. As long as he inserted the command flag there, he would definitely gain something. Even if he couldn't eat meat, he believed that he could still drink some soup. However, just as he was about to move, he stopped. This was because at the same time, another command flag lit up. There were a total of 4 command flags, which occupied 1,000 miles of that area. The area covered by the command flag's light was 100 miles away from Hu Huanshan's territory. Seeing this, Hu Huanshan's face became extremely ugly. Clearly, Zichun had already prepared for this. In an instant, that area was sealed off. "Let's go. We'll go back and guard that area." Zichun led his people and started to return. Previously, Hu Huanshan had used the rules to suppress him. Now, he would use the same rules to suppress him. When the other holy spirits saw the smile on Zichen's face, they naturally knew that they had succeeded this time. Moreover, since Zichen wanted to go back and guard it himself, it was obvious that that area was a good location with real resources. When he brushed past Hu Huanshan, Zichen said with a smile, "I still have 6 command flags. Guess where I'll put them next?" Hu Huanshan said coldly, "Don't be so smug. According to the rules, you have to guard it for an entire day. If the area you occupy is forcefully taken down, it will belong to someone else." Of course, Zichen knew this rule. He continued to smile and said, "What if I persist?" We'll talk about it after you persist." The two parted ways. In the other 3 directions, Leyland's 3 avatars disappeared one after another after inserting the command flags. There was an unconcealable joy on the face of the real Leyland. Zichen transmitted a message to the real Leyland, telling him to keep a low profile and not let others see any flaws. Zichen had long guessed that Hu Huanshan's men were in this team, so he deliberately put on a show with Leyland. In the process of acting, not only did she continuously consume Hu Huanshan's command flags, but Leyland could also better search for places with special resources. It could be said that even if there were resources underground in the places that Hu Huanshan occupied, they wouldn't be any better. Not only did he come here for nothing, but so did the group of holy spirits behind him. Even though the majority of those people were from the Hu clan, there were still many people from other clans. They had only come for the sake of benefits. However, after following Hu Huanshan this time, they had gained nothing. Naturally, there would be resentment in their hearts. After arriving at the area that they occupied, Zichen signaled for the team to disperse. For the rest of the day, everyone had to defend this place. After a day, if they defended this place, it would become the territory of the Holy Thunder clan forever. What's down there? Zichen tried to use his spiritual thoughts to sense, but found nothing, so he asked. Leyland shook her head and said, "I don't know, but there must be something good." Zichen said, "Is it possible that it's a soul-gathering crystal lode?" Leyland glanced at him and said, "What are you thinking about? The soul power that a soul-gathering crystal can attract is very considerable. If a lode appears there, even a fool can see it." Zichen said, "So, if we find the right place, it will be very easy to find the lode? It's very easy if there is no special seal, but if there is a special seal, it's a different story." Leyland said, "By the way, how are you going to defend next?" "First, Ask for help. Zichun smiled slightly, seeming to have a well-thought-out plan. Ask for help from whom? Lei Lan asked in confusion. Hu Huanshan. Zichun waved his hand, and a 5-star Holy Spirit came over. Sir, what can I do for you? Go to Hu Huanshan and tell him we need his help, Zichun ordered. Ah, the 5-star Holy Spirit was stunned. Weren't they in conflict? Why should he ask for help from the enemy? Go. By the way, tell him that if he succeeds, we're willing to give him some shares. But the premise is that he must lead his team and come here to defend this place now. Seeing that Zichun didn't seem to be joking, the 5-star Holy Spirit still didn't quite understand Zichun's idea. He could only go to Hu Huanshan and tell him what his lord meant. Hu Huanshan looked at the person and said coldly, What did you say? Say it again? My lord said he needs your help. If you're willing, you can go now. Once it's done, my lord will give you some shares. The 5-star Holy Spirit clearly conveyed Zichun's meaning. How much is some shares? Hu Huanshan suppressed his anger and asked. My lord didn't say. I guess it's just some? The 5-star Holy Spirit thought for a moment and said, Scram, scram. Hu Huanshan was so angry that his body was about to spit fire. Scram now. So you're saying you refuse? The 5-star Holy Spirit asked. He was obviously a stubborn person and needed a clear answer. Go tell that idiot Zichun that even if I, Hu Huanshan, don't get anything, I will never help him. Tell him to give up, and then get the hell out of here. Hu Huanshan was flustered and exasperated. His heart moved, and he said, Those who are good at using their fists to attack, quickly come here and get a Saint Talisman. All the Holy Spirits were stunned. At their level, who didn't know how to use fists? Zichun said again, Those who are confident that they can use their fists to injure the enemy, come here and get a Saint Talisman. Those who are confident that they can kill the enemy with their fists, come here and get 2. Although the Heavenly Saint Arm was a 4-star Saint Talisman, its effect was not weaker than a 5-star Saint Talisman. Its supporting effect was also very powerful. This time, Zichun had prepared many of them. After the group of Holy Spirits looked at each other, they stood up one after another and walked towards the center of the area where Zichun was. There were about 30 of them. The number of people was less than expected, so Zichun decided to give each of them 3 talismans. At the same time, he told them how to use the Heavenly Saint Arm, not giving them much time to breathe. Just as Zichun quickly finished drawing 81 Ghost Spirit Saint Talismans, the enemy came. This time, it was not immortal beasts, but the spiritual tribe. After putting away the Ghost Spirit Saint Talismans, Zichun looked into the distance. There were many enemies. Zichun said in a deep voice, Retreat into the area. Once the enemy enters our area, kill them without mercy. Everyone was ready for battle. Those who had consumed a lot of energy stayed at the back and slowly recovered. Zichun's figure rose into the air, the immortal king armor on his body shining brightly. I am Zichun from the Holy Thunder Clan. This area has been occupied by the Holy Thunder Clan. I am warning you to retreat quickly. Otherwise, you will be killed without mercy. Zichun's voice resounded in the area. No one paid attention to him. Everyone was moving forward. Zichun's voice rang out again. He said it 3 times in a row. Obviously, this was a warning. Then, Zichun waved his hand again, and the people in his team retreated again. A light appeared under Zichun's body, and the immortal beast appeared. At the same time, a war spear appeared in his hand. There were enemies in all directions, and their numbers far exceeded that of Zichun's team. Obviously, many forces had joined forces. They did not have the slightest hesitation and directly broke into the area occupied by Zichun. Kill them without mercy. Zichun's cold voice resounded in the area. Then, as if he had turned into a lightning bolt, he charged in one direction. Everyone, it's time for life and death. For the Holy Thunder Clan, and for ourselves, let's fight. Zichun, who was charging forward, was attacked by many spiritual weapons. His figure did not stop at all, and he continued to move forward. He didn't even try to dodge ordinary attacks. Only when he felt threatened would he use extreme speed to dodge. In the blink of an eye, he rushed into the crowd and shouted, Spear 9. He thrust his spear forward, and it instantly turned into 9. The 9 spear lights were real, and they surged with a terrifying aura as they rushed into the crowd. There was no need to aim at all. The 9 holy spirits' bodies were pierced one after another. The lighter ones were seriously injured, and the heavier ones were killed. After the spear, Zichen's figure dodged. During this time, several attacks still landed on his body, but they were blocked by the immortal king armor. The second attack was still Spear 9. He successfully killed 9 people. However, there were too many enemies. Even if Zichen continued to kill like this, it would take a long time. Under such circumstances, his people were bound to be seriously injured. Capture the leader first.